He knows all too well how important education is in shaping students' futures.
Education is the key for everybody, for young people and even for adults. There are 15 post-primary schools that are under the auspices of the ETB. I know that all of those schools provide a wide range of curricular subjects and provide a fantastic education to hundreds and hundreds of students right across the county.
Meanwhile, 78% of school leavers in Donegal have gone on to third level education in 2023. That's according to the latest Irish Times Feeder Schools report for 2023, which shows around 80% of pupils across the country this year have progressed to college. Fee-paying schools still account for the most pupils progressing to college, with 99% of students continuing their education. Meanwhile, the number progressing from JESH schools in disadvantaged areas has risen to 63%. Carl O'Brien from the Irish Times says there are a number of reasons for that.
Education observers say that there's a number of likely factors behind this. One is that we have created more college places, there's more technological universities in the regions, which makes college more affordable, and also there's far more access initiatives aimed at forging links between deaf schools and third level colleges.
Weather now today will be mostly cloudy with a fair amount of dry weather with some patchy rain or drizzle at times. Highest temperatures of 7 or 8 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Betty Morgan talks about her son.
Eamon was one of life's givers. When he had a sudden brain hemorrhage and sadly died, his organ donation helped 2 people transform their lives. It's consoled us so often. Eamon was a giver in life, and now he's a giver of life.
Organ donors save lives. Make today the day you decide to be an organ donor and let your family know your wishes. For more, visit hse.ie/organ donation. From the HSE.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And a very good morning to you. This is the 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. It is, as myself and Kevin were reflecting, the 12th of December, 13 days to the big day, and we hope you are enjoying the preparations and getting into the spirit of everything. No doubt it'll come up in conversation over the course of the programme, and as will lots else as well. If you want to take part in the discussions on the programme, by the way, you can text us or WhatsApp us on 086 60 25,000. Call us on 074 91 25,000. Caroline is taking your calls and producing, and Shannon is taking calls and doing all the social media as well. You can text us on comments at highlandradio.com. You can engage with us on social media. We're at Highland Radio on X. We are Highland Hub on Facebook. We are, of course, broadcasting live on our Facebook pages as well, and you can interact with the show there, and you can comment. And good morning to Mari, who's commenting already on the page, and you can watch the show unfold with all our Zoom conversations as well. Your contributions, as we always say, are absolutely central to this show, and we value everything you send in to us, and please do continue doing so. Let's look at the papers this morning. At front of the Tuesday Donegal Democrat, former teacher won't accept verdict. A former secondary school teacher found guilty of indecently assaulting a 13-year-old pupil nearly 40 years ago does not accept the verdicts of the jury, a court has heard. Jacinta McSherry O'Connor, 63, of the Mullins in Donegal town, was found guilty on 2 counts of indecently assaulting a male student in 1985 following a trial in October at the Dublin Circuit Criminal Court. The court heard the abuse occurred while she worked as a student teacher in a Dublin secondary school. Also in the paper, community rallies to help restore Teach Tessie. Alan Foley writes that a GoFundMe page has been set up to help with the restoration of Teach Tessie following a fire at the premises last week. Costa Verbaha Minaleka are organising a fundraiser in Leo's Tavern in Minalek on the 15th of this month. That's this coming Friday, to show their support. Moving on to the Nationals, Irish Independent, you'll have heard the story with Michaela this morning. Feeder schools 2023, which schools send the most pupils to college? That's a pullout on the inside of the paper. Almost 80% of secondary schools in Donegal do send students on to college. The main story on the front of the Independent, second cut from big energy firm set to kick off price war. One of the big four energy firms has announced a second price cut in a move that will force its rivals to respond, with expectations that a price war will break out. SSE Electricity is to reduce its prices by 12.8% and its gas tariffs by 11.5%. It follows a 12% cut in electricity prices from the same supplier that took effect on November 1st. Electric Ireland, Bord Gáis and Energia experts say will be left with no choice but to announce new reductions. Now, we know that inflation has been coming down somewhat over the past couple of months, and very often when inflation starts to go up, the big companies are very, very quick to impose the price rises, blaming inflation. When inflation starts to come down, suddenly they're very, very slow to interact in the other direction, and suddenly you get to hear all the things like, oh well, we buy our fuel 12 months in advance, so we're actually working off the prices from 12 months ago for the fuel that we have to buy, so our operating costs work a year ahead. So inflation may be coming down, but we're operating a year behind. Even though the day inflation went up, you pretty much jacked up your prices on the same day. However, let's leave that to one side. Irish Times this morning: COP28 in crisis over weak plan to phase out fossil fuels. EU threat to pull out of summit after text avoids call to end use of energy sources. Ryan confirms wording was unacceptable following meeting of EU delegation, and indeed a lot of discussion this morning on COP28. It's taking place, of course, in the UAE, and suggestions that perhaps the UAE and its high dependence on oil not going to get the most shall we say unbiased view of fossil fuels in the context of energy debate, and certainly it's getting very hard to actually come up with an acceptable wording. It seems COP was to have finished by 12 noon today. Whether or not they will actually have agreed texts and outcomes from COP by 12 noon today would, last we heard, seem doubtful. We see what happens. Rising college entrance from disadvantaged areas is the main story, other main on the Irish Times. Fee charging schools continue to send the highest proportion of students to third level. That's no surprise. It's always been the case that the fee paying schools have had the highest level, because in many cases, essentially what the fee paying schools are is they're students who go in specifically the sixth year, specifically to repeat their leaving cert, usually because they want to get high points for a high point course. So yeah, it's almost inevitable that is going to happen. Also on the front of the Irish Times this morning, again, UN agency warns of Gaza humanitarian catastrophe. Mark Weiss in Jerusalem writes that Israel has said it will open the Kerem Shalom crossing today for the examination of humanitarian aid entering the Gaza Strip from Egypt. The decision comes after officials from the UN agency, UNRWA, responsible for refugees, warned the crisis is becoming a humanitarian catastrophe, and the situation there, it's beyond serious. It is as an advert for UNICEF on the front page says, it is a silent nightmare. That's the rather striking ad from UNICEF on the front of our Irish Times this morning, situated by coincidence but appropriately right beside that particular story. Irish Daily Mail this morning: refugees €220 a week welfare to be slashed. Newly arrived Ukrainians will only be given state accommodation for 90 days as leaders of coalition change strategy. Welfare payments for Ukrainian refugees will be slashed in their housing entitlements. Craig Hughes, the political correspondent there on the Mail, they won't be ejected from state accommodation if they cannot find somewhere else to live. However, the paper says state-funded accommodation for new arrivals will be limited to 90 days, after which they'll be required to source their own place to live. It'll be interesting to see how that works, because it's going to be... I cannot see a situation develop where effectively someone is in state-provided accommodation for 90 days and after 90 days they're ejected from that building. Can you imagine Gardaí ejecting Ukrainian refugees? Sorry about that. Can you imagine Gardaí ejecting Ukrainian refugees, from it? I cannot see that happening. I really can't. It would be a political... It would be a political, shooting yourself in the foot of the highest order. So we'll have to see how all that pans out. The Irish Daily Star this morning: kids ran for lives as assassin opened fire. Pistol jammed as victim was chased into supermarket. A gunman opens fire on Noel Boylan as he runs into Lidl in Blakestown in Dublin, where he took refuge. The gunman's weapon jammed as he tried to fire into the packed firing a gun into a packed shop. I mean, that is... It's beyond comprehension. Other story there, victim of evil Garda breaks silence. The ex-partner of Twisted Garda, Paul Moody, has broken her silence to reveal the life of hell that he put her through. Disgraced Moody was jailed for over 3 years in 2022 for the coercive control of his terminally ill partner, Nicola. That's the front of the Irish Daily Star. Front of the Irish Sun. OAPs go to war over flats. McGregor versus Paddy and Rita, 81. Conor McGregor faces a fight with an OAP couple who are trying to KO one of his massive building projects. Patrick and Rita McGowan, both 81, have put in an application to his apartment block plan in Drimna and Dublin. Also, Conor McGregor actually is featured on the inside of the Democrat this morning. You will recall that there was some discussion late last week about Conor McGregor potentially seeking a run for the Irish presidency, and it was made clear that he would have to seek a nomination either from Oireachtas members or from county councils. And the comment at the time from Donegal-based Senator Eileen Flynn was that nominate him for presidency, I wouldn't nominate him to do the dishes. And he fought back, making some rather obnoxious personal comments. And there's a story on that and on the inside of your Democrat as well. Conor McGregor launches personal attack on Donegal Senator after nomination rebuke. And you can read that story if you so choose. On the front of the Irish Daily Mirror this morning, Dublin riots fallout. It's a fare cop, fare spelled F-A-R-E, taxi box hits brakes on proposals to make cabbies police streets. Taxi chiefs have blasted plans to have cab drivers police the streets following the riots in Dublin last month. City council officials have proposed allowing taxis drive down pedestrian areas to maintain passive surveillance. Taxi industry spokesperson Vinnie Kearns said cabbies are not trained to do such a job. You'd need Army Ranger Wing training to be able to police some areas, he said. Now, I strongly suspect cabbies are a very important eye on the streets anyway. The idea that you would somehow give them dispensation to drive in certain areas with the expectation that they will effectively become community police, for want of a better phrase, I'm not sure. I am not sure how that would work, and I'm not sure that's a reputation that the taxi drivers would particularly want. I have no doubt that many taxi drivers are sources of help to Gardaí, and great help to Gardaí, I suspect, in many areas, particularly about what goes on at night, because if you want to know what goes on at night in any town, I mean, basically ask a cab driver, because they're the ones who are driving around, they're the ones who are seeing what's going on. But in order to make that almost semi-official, I'm not sure that would work to any great extent. It is an interesting question. Now, I am going to take a break. We'll be back in a few moments. We have our McGee's Chemist Quiz now. I know it was a very busy show yesterday with Greg. He had some very interesting and very powerful interviews, and he also had, obviously, the first of the €1,000 giveaways to do on the show as well. And as a result, the McGee's Chemist Quiz has been rolled forward to today. So we have actually two wonderful prizes from McGee's Chemist to give away today. We'll be doing that very, very shortly. But before we do anything else, we're going to take a break. Back after these.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk.
9 till noon. Order your new 241 Suzuki with 0% finance from Barry Brown Cars Milford, main Suzuki dealer in Donegal. Order your 241 Suzuki, one of the most reliable and cost-effective brands on the market, with 0% finance on selected models. So get down to Barry Brown Cars Milford, Suzuki Sales Dealer of the Year, and secure your 241 today.
Where's the party? Hi, it's Declan Derny here, bringing our mighty nationwide concert tour with my special guests John Hogan and Owen Mack on Green and Theatre, Letterkenny, Saturday, December 30th.
Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Euronics to let you know we have a great range of Ninja appliances available for Christmas. They include the new Ninja Foodie Max dual zone air fryer, which has a large 9.5 litre capacity and 6 cooking functions, so you can cook 2 different foods 2 different ways with both ready at the same time. Also the new Ninja Flexi Drawer with a large 10.4 litre capacity. See our great range of Ninja appliances in store at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, and the shopping centre Dunlow.
Send Christmas smiles from Alcorn's festive flower selection. Lovingly remember those we miss with a tribute from our Christmas selection. All our orders are handmade in store, so please order early. Wishing you your best Christmas from all at Alcorn's.
That magical time of year once more, with mince pies and pudding and treats galore, taking pride of place by the twinkling tree. All you need to know about the season's TV. A world of entertainment wrapped up inside. Christmas begins with the RTE Guide.
Stay warm for less this winter with Homeland. Valcas Energy Wood Pellets 10 kg, buy 10 bags, get 1 free. Kiln-dried softwood logs, buy 2 bags for €14. Nationwide delivery available. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
And the time here on Highland Radio is 18 minutes past 9 o'clock. And just to make what we were saying at the top of the programme a self-fulfilling prophecy, I went ahead and pressed the wrong button. And who came and rescued me? The bowed Kevin. Sure, who else would it be? Now, during the newspaper review, we were speaking about the proposals going to Cabinet today with regards to changes to the conditions under which Ukrainian refugees come in. One of the chief among them being that after 90 days in state accommodation, they will then be asked to leave that accommodation and source accommodation for themselves. Now, their payments will also be slashed as well, we are told. I raised a few questions as to whether that was in any way workable, realistically speaking. Well, let's discuss the situation with Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle, independent representative from this county. Thomas, good morning to you.
Morning, Donal. How's it going?
Very well indeed, thanks. Thomas, in terms of the proposals by government, I mean, I will put to you what I said myself during the newspaper review. I cannot see a situation develop where after 90 days, if a refugee is unable to source their own accommodation, that the government is going to somehow get Gardaí to eject them or somehow forcibly eject them out of the hotel or the state-sponsored accommodation in which they're staying. I mean, realistically, is this workable?
I don't think so, Donal. And we haven't still yet seen the full details of what the proposals are, but we've seen the bones of it published now over the last couple of hours, and I don't think it is workable. If you look at it, and you can consider that at the moment there's something over 5,000 asylum seekers who are still resident in direct protection centres because they can't get out, they can't get accommodation outside of the centre, and they have got leave to remain, leave to work, and they're not asylum seekers anymore, but yet they can't find accommodation. So how are Ukrainians going to be able to find accommodation if that's the situation? So I think it's a nonsensical idea that the government are coming out with, and I think it's part of the knee-jerk response that we've seen from this government all along as well. And
it's coming at a time when we're having such discussions about the high cost of rent. I mean, there are people who are working full-time can barely afford to pay rent, particularly in Dublin. I mean, it's bad enough now in Donegal where your rent regularly now goes into 4 figures for a month. I mean, in Dublin, it's next to impossible to pay rent even on the average industrial wage.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's absolutely crazy. Like in Dublin, you'd be looking for for a 3-bedroom house or apartment, you'd be looking probably about €2,500 to €3,000 a month rent for it, and that's just not possible for anybody to manage that amount, and that is a real problem. And the reality is that most asylum seekers and Ukrainians and refugees and that there would gravitate towards the larger cities like Dublin and stuff like that there, because that's where the work is available and that's where maybe the exchange extended communities are as well, and so they would be looking to live there, and it's just not possible for anybody to live there at the moment, and that's a sign, and another sign of the government's failure to actually provide accommodation and to look for accommodation for our own citizens as well as refugees, and the government's complete failure in this has been flagged as an issue and has been a stark issue in the country for at least 10, 12 years now, and it's not getting any better.
In terms of the payments, the proposal is to reduce payments from €220 to €38.80. And I mean, again, to reduce payments to that extent and then say, right, off you go and find accommodation somewhere. I mean, that adds to the questionable nature of the accommodation proposal. But also, as well as that, some suggestions that this may effectively be a way to try and deter people to come here seeking asylum, because you hear the suggestion sometimes coming that, you know, people will favour coming to Ireland because the rates are so favourable and because the payments are so generous. Is this effectively the government saying, oh, we'd better make this place less attractive for refugees to come to?
Yeah, it's a favourite tactic of the government to say that Ireland is such an attractive place for refugees to come to, that's why they're coming. And, you know, as if refugees are sitting around in Kiev or wherever and the bombs going off around them and they're saying, oh, let's look and see where the best place to go to. Oh, there's Ireland, let's get great rates of social welfare, we'll go there. And that's not the case, and we know that's not the case. And Bradger, in the last couple of months when he was touting this as the issue, was asked to provide examples, and he couldn't provide the numbers of people who had come to Ireland on that basis. The government is claiming that Ukrainians are going to other European countries and then hearing about how great it is in Ireland and deciding to move on to Ireland as well. You know, and in reality, the government could actually deal with that without actually making any changes at all, where simply people would have to, you know, when Ukrainian people come to Ireland, I'm sure they have to give their ID number or their national insurance number as it was in Ukraine, and that would already be registered in Germany or France or the Netherlands, wherever they were. And if somebody was already registered there, the Irish government could just basically say to them, look, we're not looking after you, you're already registered in Germany, you'll have to return to Germany and send them back. And that could be done very easily, and it could be done without targeting people maybe who are genuinely landing here for the first time and do need our support and our help.
In terms of these changes, would you anticipate a Dáil debate on them, or are these just changes that can be implemented under ministerial order by government that will not actually require a discussion in the Dáil chamber?
No, I think it does require a change in legislation, and that's why it actually can't happen very quickly. So I think it probably will be debated in the Dáil in January and February, and the legislation will probably pass towards the end of February, which makes a lie again of the government's ideas, because if the government, if you're sitting in Germany and thinking, where are you going to go now, you want to make sure to get over here before the law changes, rather than waiting for the law to come in. But, you know, it will have to, there's in primary legislation, so it will have to be debated and passed in the Dáil. But given that the numbers that the government has, that is from Aldi, although it will probably take a bit of time for them to do that.
But I mean, we could be getting to the point, and we are going to, and the general election speculation is going to start growing once we hit the new year, obviously. But I mean, basically, any time after March, really, we're looking at the potential of a general election. It could yet be that this mightn't actually make it into law before the next general election, particularly if Leo Varadkar decides to pull the trigger early.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if he decides to pull the trigger early, it definitely won't happen. But also, as well, with the local elections coming up, he probably won't want to focus on this in time and run into the local elections as well. Particularly looking at Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil want to maximise their vote, so that might be a cooling factor on as well in the decision making process that they make. You know, and that's how that government does its business. It's looking to elections all the time, and that's why we never see any real change either.
So the most likely thing to happen, then, you believe, is that these proposals will eventually come before the Dáil in January, and we may be looking at legislation agreed probably toward the far end of March into April?
I would think so. I think that probably what the government will do is they'll bring it through in January, and they'll guillotine it to make sure there's no debate on it in the Dáil, and push it through as quick as possible, and to try and have the law implemented and changes made by the end of February, so that they'll leave plenty of time for either a general election or the local elections in June, so that it won't have an impact on them. And that's probably the way the time frame that the government will work on this to make sure that it happens.
If you were the minister, how would you do this? What proposals would you put on the table to try and ease the situation and address what is overcrowding, and also address what are issues with, for instance, the provision of tourist accommodation coming into another season where we see many hotels now which are either totally taken up with refugees or 50% taken up with refugees. So there are issues that do need to be tackled. Are there alternatives, in your view, that could be used that would both address the refugee issues and ensure that they're treated with the respect and with the dignity that they deserve, while at the same time ensuring that the tourist product is being provided, ensuring that we do have a tourist industry come the next season in Easter in April?
Yeah, the government, that's been flagged up as a problem for over 2 years now at this stage, and the government hasn't seemed to put any response in place. And what I would be doing, if I was there, I would be making sure that we would be developing long-term accommodation so that they remove the need to have hotels and provide hotels. And we see this government constantly do this where, we're only doing this in the short-term measure, we put something in place, but they never put anything in place. And we can't be operating on the basis of an emergency forever. And they need to be putting the permanent solutions in place. And we've seen it with everything that the government does, and and so we've seen it in recent budgets, even with something as simple as the electricity contribution that they were giving people off their ESD bills, and they said that it was too complicated to actually tailor this to make it target the people who really need it. But yet we're I think 3 budgets in now, and they're still doing it, and they're still doing it, and that multi-millionaires are getting as much of a electricity subsidy as people who are dependent on social welfare. And so the government basically just don't bother dealing with the issues, and don't bother putting in place the long-term solutions. And that's the problem that we have, and that's the problem that we're leading into a situation where there's no sign of actually reducing the number of hotel places that are needed, where I believe that the government have been working alongside, working on the permanent solutions as well as the temporary solutions. We would be getting to the point where now you'll be seeing those solutions come in place, and the pressure will be easing off on the hotels, and those hotels could then go back to being tourist accommodation, which is what the communities need as well.
Deputy Thomas Pringle, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us this morning.
Thanks, Donal.
Thank you indeed. That's Deputy Thomas Pringle there. And as we know, that issue is being discussed by Cabinet this morning. And as Deputy Pringle there predicted, we can expect proposals and proposed legislation to come to the Dáil probably in January, toward the end of that particular year. Now, let's talk about scents, because I used to always say over the years that there were 2 signs that Christmas was finally here. The first was the appearance of the Pennies ad. Remember the one that went, Pennies, got a whole lot of things for Christmas, got a lot for your family, da diddle 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 dee. Now that's been replaced in contemporary culture, I think, by the Coca-Cola lorry, which I still haven't seen, by the way, but it was the Pennies ad when I was growing up. And the other sign of Christmas was when you hear presenters on the mid-morning show on Highland Radio, be their surnames Doherty or Hughes or whatever, going Paco Rabanne and Marie Carey and Carolina Herrera and Chanel, and just naming lists and lists of perfumes. And it's Christmas time, folks, because we're about to do it. Yesterday, as we said, Greg didn't get a chance to do this, so McGee's Chemists are our sponsors this week, and as is traditional now at Christmas, we're going to be giving away a number of scents and sprays and all sorts of goodies. And we have one central hamper worth over €500 to be won. That's at the end of the week, and it contains a Clarence Christmas hamper, a blank canvas 12-piece gold makeup and brush set. There's a large blank canvas purple 3-piece gift set. There's a Be Perfect muted palette. There's a Jimmy Choo ladies fragrance, and there's a 20x16 gallery wrapped canvas. You can have your favourite photo wrapped in canvas and ready to hang on the wall. That is coming to us in at the end of the week, but for each day there is a qualifying question and there is a qualifying prize, and we have 2 to do today because we didn't get one done yesterday. So today we have a 50 milliliter Carolina Herrera Gold Girl EDP spray. That's EDP, I presume that's eau de parfum, is it? And that's for ladies. So it's a Carolina Herrera Gold, a good girl EDP spray, and that's for the ladies. And it's a beat the intro question. I am going to play you a piece of music, and I simply want you to name the Christmas song. And if you can tell us the name of the song and the name of the artist. I'm just going to play the piece of music, and we want you to either text or WhatsApp us on 086 60 25,000 with your answer and with obviously your name and with the answer to the song. So could we have, please, the name of this Christmas song? We want the name of the song, and if you can give us the artist as well, sure, that would be only great. Take a listen. Right, well, I incorrectly named it Beat the Intro. It is, in fact, Play the Song Backwards. So, the song is backwards. Name that Christmas song. As we say, please text or WhatsApp us on 086 60 25,000 with your name and with the answer to the question. Now, we were speaking to W. Thomas Pringle there about the Ukrainian accommodation issue, and the issue of high rents and the rising cost of rent came up for discussion. We're going to be talking about that topic after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Fill your stocking this Christmas from all the great gift ideas at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show. See mcgees.ie or like McGee's on Facebook for a chance to win some great prizes.
If you're in Letterkenny doing a bit of Christmas shopping and the hunger hits, pull into Charlie's. The menu is packed with delicious options for all the family, including mouth-watering burgers, delicious chicken and battered fresh fish. Not to mention the famous Charlie's chips, the tastiest in town. All the food is hand-cooked to order, and there's a great selection of gluten-free options also on the menu. Happy Christmas from everyone at Charlie's on Pierce Road, Letterkenny. Open every Tuesday to Saturday from 12 to 8.
The Department of Social Protection is working to improve disability payments in Ireland. There is currently a consultation on how these payments might work better in the future. We want to hear your views on how the system might be improved. To find out more, please visit gov.ie/disability payments reform. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
Hi, Tommy Bow here. Get in store to check out my new 15 Kings clothing collection, available in premium gents outfitters nationwide and at 15kings.com.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is a guaranteed 17 million euro. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. Just a few of your comments. We were speaking there about the Ukrainian refugee situation. Now, a caller says, Donal, there's a lot taking advantage of our welfare, to be fair. Like everything else, bolting the door when the horse has bolted. What about all the ones crossing from the UK to Northern Ireland who crossed the border into the Republic? No checks, etc. Now, I'm not quite sure if that's totally the case, but I take your point, caller. Thank you. The other caller says, some bully McGregor only picked on Senator Eileen Flynn and none of the rest of the TDs or the senators on their comments. Yep. And why is there not an agreement between the Gardaí and the taxi people to hand in any dashcam when they have something happens? Appealing for footage only makes them a target. Well, maybe there is an agreement. I don't know what the arrangements are between Gardaí and taxi drivers. That's utterly a matter for themselves. Gardaí will appeal for dashcam footage, and indeed we'll hear appeals for dashcam footage on the programme here today during the Community Garda slot, which is coming up after 10 o'clock. When Gardaí are appealing for dashcam footage, they're appealing for footage from members of the public, from anyone. Appealing for footage is not just for taxi drivers, it's for everybody and anybody who may be on the road, and they'll be appealing for dashcam footage at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, as often as they're appealing for footage footage at 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's the situation there. It's in terms of Gardaí, basically what we're looking at is a situation whereby Gardaí will make appeals for information from members of the public, and members of the public, including taxi drivers, will respond to those. The problem with a formalised arrangement with Gardaí per se may well be that it potentially, and as our caller said there, is it potentially going to turn Gardaí into targets? I don't know. It's a difficult one, and it's up. I think it really is up to each individual to see what arrangement that they are going to come to with Gardaí and how they are going to respond to whatever appeal is made by the Gardaí. So we'll keep an eye on the situation there and see what happens. Now, I want to read another comment from a caller. It's an interesting one. Take a listen to this and see what you think. Maybe bring up this issue. I was unfortunate enough to have been involved in a road collision a few years ago. Another driver crashed into me and wrote off my car. I subsequently bought a small van to allow me get around and do my work when I was sufficiently recovered enough to do so. I've had a few vans in the past and never once made a claim on either a van or a car in over 25 years of driving. No accidents, no points, no insurance company would sell me a new commercial policy for my van. The van's been sitting at the house for the past number of years. As you'd expect, I spent money and had the van fully serviced and DOE tested by my local mechanic before seeking insurance for myself, and I haven't been able to put it on the road. The driver that crashed into me eventually admitted liability, and I went to try get a new van commercial policy again for the second time. Unfortunately for me, even with written proof that I wasn't responsible for the accident, no insurance broker or insurance company would give me a new policy until the case is settled, which it hasn't been yet due to COVID backlog delays. I am told potentially 2025 may be the earliest court sitting. I'm being victimised by the insurance industry. Have you had any experience like this? It's a very, very difficult one. I can't offer anything in terms of perspective on that one. But if you have any experience and if you have any perspective you can offer to our caller there, please do. Morning, it's very distressing to see loads of Palestinian boys and men in Israeli trucks blindfolded with hands tied behind their backs. The world is watching this and doing nothing. Irish people can remember pictures like this during the Troubles. Thank you. And we know, for instance, that there is attempts being made in the UN chamber in New York to try and get a resolution passed, and it's not being passed because they can't get wording that's going to be acceptable to everybody. So it is a difficult one indeed. Another comment, there are many immigrants or foreigners or whatever you want to call them coming into this small country. The Irish are rapidly becoming a minority in some parts of the country and a lot of Irish people are concerned about it. And what's wrong with that? There is no comparison to the Irish immigrant who went abroad to work and to today's migrants who are coming here to languish on social welfare and social housing. That's the difference. And I wish people would stop saying there is no difference. There are people coming in here because they have every right to come in here seeking international protection. That is the international law to which Ireland has signed up, and it's the international law to which Ireland is obliged under its participation in the United Nations to honour. And that, I think, is what is being done in this instance now. We spoke about rent earlier on, and I am delighted to say that we can now go to Zoom and speak to Owen O'Brien TD, who is the Sinn Féin spokesperson on housing. Owen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Thanks for having me.
It is our pleasure. Owen O'Brien, you've done this before and you're trying it again to bring a piece of legislation through the Dáil in your own time that will effectively help stem the tide of rising homelessness and also tackle the issue of rent. Have you any reason to believe that the legislation you're proposing this time will be any more successful than the last?
Well, the legislation we're actually tabling today is the government's legislation that they introduced last year, which we supported, which gave effect to a ban on evictions for tenants who had done nothing wrong over the winter period. I'm really urging any deputy, it doesn't matter whether they're government or opposition, independent or party, who wants to see a reduction in the number of people, particularly children and pensioners in emergency accommodation through December and January, to support our legislation. We have the highest number of people ever recorded in emergency accommodation. We have the highest number of children on record. We also have the scandal of rising pension homelessness. And while a ban on evictions where the tenant has done nothing wrong is not in and of itself a solution, what it does, one, is give those singles and families breathing space over December, January, February and March, But also that breathing space would allow the government to introduce the kind of emergency measures we've been calling on for some time to help slow the flow of families and single people into emergency accommodation, but crucially get people out of emergency accommodation much more quickly. So I'm urging everybody, and the Dáil arithmetic can be very tight, as you know, urging everybody who wants to see less homelessness over Christmas to support our bill during the debate tonight and the crucial vote tomorrow, and then put pressure on government to get this enacted by the end of the week and signed into law by the President next week.
I'm going to make a presumption here, and that presumption is that the government's argument is going to be that it brought in a ban on evictions under very specific circumstances during COVID as an emergency measure, and they extended it because it was seen as the right thing to do at that time. But once it came to its end, it was ended, and what you're trying to do is bring that in as it were, the norm. And their argument is going to be that that is not going to work, and that ultimately what it's going to do is it's going to force more landlords out of the system, and it's going to get to the point where there'll be less private rental space available for people to go into, and that's going to exacerbate rather than solve the problem. That, I suspect, will be one of the government's arguments.
So let me go through each of those in turn. Firstly, the legislation we're proposing isn't the COVID-19 ban on evictions. It was the emergency ban on no-fault evictions introduced by government last October, November. And the reason why government introduced that, and we had called on them to do so, is because emergency accommodation in 15 of our local authorities was at that point full, and there was literally nowhere for people to go. The legislation is very clear, and it is word for word the same as the government's previous legislation, just with the dates changed. It would provide for a period up until March of next year where people who are imminently at risk of losing their homes would have that pause, and then there would be a phased series of deadlines from March until through June, same as the government's. There is no evidence that the last ban on evictions led to an increase in landlords issuing eviction notices. In fact, if you look at the figures from the Residential Tenancies Board, both before, during and after that ban, the quarter-on-quarter number of eviction notices is in and around 5,000. It dips above or below that. And there are many reasons why landlords are leaving the market. Some are availing of tax reliefs that were introduced by government in 2011 to 2014, incentivising them to sell now. Others, if you look at the age profile of landlords, are approaching pension age, and their intention was always to sell the property to get a pension lump sum at that point. And others are selling for other reasons, and we have no reason to believe that that number is going to change. We've 15,000 eviction notices issued in the first 3 quarters of this year, likely to hit 20,000 by the end of the year. But what we do know is every single month since government ended the ban on no-fault evictions earlier this year, the number of people in emergency accommodation has increased. It's almost 20% increase on this time last year. And therefore, two facts cannot be denied. If we don't do something, the number of adults and children and pensioners in emergency accommodation will relentlessly continue to increase. But also, two, if we want to put in place the kind of solutions that we're proposing, for example, the use of emergency planning and procurement powers, along with vacant and derelict buildings and new building technologies, to deliver an accelerated stream of social housing, specifically for those people in emergency accommodation, we need a breathing space. So these people, these families, adults and children at risk of entering into emergency accommodation, they need a breathing space. But government also needs a breathing space to put in place those measures. And let's be very clear, landlords who are selling up did not cause this homelessness crisis. This homelessness crisis was caused by government year on year not delivering an adequate supply of social housing. And in fact, since Darragh O'Brien became minister, not even delivering on the woefully low targets that he has. Likewise, we've seen a significant increase in working people and working families in emergency accommodation, a growing number of whom aren't even eligible for social housing. And again, that's a consequence of government not taking action to supply good quality affordable rental and purchase, and also government not acting to tackle runaway rents. So the situation has got so critical. When Fine Gael took office back in 2011, the number of children in emergency accommodation was just over 600. The official figure is now over 4,000. Like, the increase is staggering. And if you listen to homeless service providers, if you talk to Simon, for example, up in the Northwest, I'm sure you know them well, covering Donegal and Mayo and Sligo, if you listen to frontline service providers anywhere in the country, they will tell you they have never seen it as bad. And while some of our local authorities have added some additional capacity to take account of the increased demand for emergency places in December and January, other areas are absolutely at full capacity. And that means people will be forced to sleep rough or sleep in their cars or present to Garda stations. That's not acceptable. And therefore, if we want to see homelessness numbers fall in the run-up to and after Christmas, the first step is to support our bill, get it enacted, but then follow it up with the kind of emergency action that's required to reduce homelessness. I say over and over again on these shows, if you look at Finland, a government in Finland over 5 years ended long-term homelessness and the need to sleep rough. The Finns are no smarter than us, they're no richer than us, they have no more resources than we have. We're at a time of record economic growth, near full employment, bumper tax revenues, and a very large surplus. How is it when we have all of those resources, we cannot find homes for the 180 pensioners in emergency accommodation? We cannot find homes for the 1,700 families with children in emergency accommodation, or the 6,000 single people. We can do what Finland did. We can end long-term homelessness, but right now we need an emergency response, and that's why we're proposing the legislation that we're bringing forward in the Dáil tonight.
Have you had discussions with any of the government whips, Hildegard Naughton or anybody else, to get a sense of how the government's going to respond tonight?
No, I haven't, and I expect the government will make their position known later on today. There is strong cross-party support on the opposition benches for such a measure. When you talk to homeless service providers, they will tell you that this is one of a number of measures that could make a real difference. But ultimately, this is a matter for both the government, but also those independent TDs who are supporting the government. You'll remember when we had the very controversial vote on the revised effective block scheme last summer, before last, should I say, the votes came right down to 5, and the government lost Charlie McHugh, if you remember. Well, I have to say, in the same way as families in Donegal living with pyrrhotite, mica and defective block are facing homelessness, we have families, children, pensioners across the country facing homelessness into December and January. Now is the time to act, and I would just urge all TDs, government and opposition, work with us. Let's make this a bipartisan issue, and let's reduce homelessness. Let's introduce the emergency measures, and then let's follow what Finland did and end long-term homelessness and the need to sleep rough for good.
Do you believe that within 18 months you could be the housing minister who has the chance to actually make that happen?
Ultimately, that's a matter for the electorate. Sinn Féin has long said that we need a general election as soon as possible. Far too many families are being failed by this government. Again, I mentioned a defective concrete block, and I'm talking to my colleagues Paul McLaughlin, Pierce Doherty and Rose Conway-Walsh and others. And there are still enormous problems with that scheme, as many of your listeners will be reminding you when they come on this show. We're seeing hospital waiting lists grow. We're seeing house prices rise, rents rise. In fact, in your own county of Donegal, some of the most dramatic rent increases have been recorded in recent Residential Tenancies Board figures. No affordable homes been delivered in Donegal by government, and very, very few social homes. So right across the board, we're seeing a government that is failing people. They're out of time, they're out of ideas. I think they're just out of touch with regular working people. So the sooner we have that election, the better. Sinn Féin will set out our stall very clearly on all of the issues, whether it's tackling the housing and homelessness crisis, tackling the health crisis, delivering genuine 100% redress for all those affected by block defects and building defects. And then it's up to the electorate. And if the electorate wants change, then our message is the only way they're going to get change is a government led by Sinn Féin. And if they want change in housing, and if they want change in defective block, then they need a Sinn Féin housing minister implementing Sinn Féin policies, because otherwise it'll be more of the status quo, and that's not working for people the length and breadth of this country, and particularly not for people in County Donegal.
Deputy Donal Bryn, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Deputy Donal Bryn there, who is the Sinn Féin housing spokesperson, and you can send your comments saying, if you have any comments to make on that, it's 086 60 25,000 for your texts and WhatsApps, or you can call 074 91 25,000. Now let's go back to our quiz, because I made a boo-boo, and the boo-boo I made was I have a second one to do. I'm going to do that in the second hour of the programme. So if you're sending in your answers to the first one, text or WhatsApp 086 60 25,000. We have another one to do in the second hour of the programme, and we will do that a little bit later on, and we're going to do that one slightly differently. And we'll get to that in just a few moments. Let's take a short break. Back after these.
Think outside the box with your photos this Christmas for canvas prints, Instablocks, mugs and photo books at mcgee's.ie. McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
Merry Yuletide, one and all. At TK Maxx, you can spoil all your loved ones with big brand gifts that are always up to 60% less than the RRP.
I'm going to need a bigger basket.
Fabulous gifts literally everyone will love. From kids' toys, designer jewellery to luxury candles. Big gifts, small prices. In store this Christmas at TK Maxx.
The Three Amigos, Jimmy Buckley, Robert Mazzell and Patrick Feeney are back on tour with their award-winning live show. See The Three Amigos live. Conry Hotel Letterkenny, Tuesday, January 23rd. Tickets, priced €35, are now on sale at the hotel reception and Ticketmaster.ie, where extra charges may apply.
Happy Christmas from the Three Amigos.
The Goal Mile, supported by AIB, has been helping families around the world for over 40 years. This year, we are asking you to step up together with your community to continue one of Ireland's favourite Christmas traditions. Search AIB Goal Mile to see where you, your family and your friends can find your local Goal Mile event. AIB, for the life you're after.
Could you train the next generation of skilled workers? If you're a qualified tradesperson, you could become an apprenticeship instructor. Join an ETB team who share your passion and will get you up and running with opportunities nationwide across construction, electrical, engineering, motor industry and more. And with flexible work-life balance and a very competitive salary, why not apply today at apprenticeship.ie, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Whatever the weather this December, Letterkenny will bring a warm front to your shopping and great value for your pocket. Highland Weather Forecast, brought to you by Shop LK.
And let's take a look at what Met Éireann are predicting for us today. And when we look at the forecast, Met Éireann tell us it'll be mostly cloudy with some showery rain, mainly in coastal areas. Throughout the day, there'll be a good deal of dry weather and a few showers. Top temperatures today, 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. Light variable breezes, north to northwesterly later, and freshening along the coast. So that's not terrible, I suppose. Now, you'll have heard on the news this morning with Michaela that a business premises in the south of the county put up a social media post seeking information about the theft of 3 quads. The company in question was Karen Quads, based in Ballantrae. We're joined on the line by Catherine Karen, owner of the company. Catherine, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Catherine, tell us about this theft and what you can tell us about the modus operandi that was used.
Well, we know that they came on the property at about 1 o'clock on Sunday morning. They had been in the area from about 8 o'clock on Sunday evening. And they were on our property from about 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. They stole 3 brand new Suzuki quads. And then it looks like they went across the main road to another property and stole a cattle trailer, which they then used to transport the quads away from our premises.
Now, you believe that, and we can't make too many presumptions here, but there was a white transit van seen in the area at around 5 to 6 with a cattle trailer behind, which you believe may have something to do with this, and anyone with information on that should contact Gardaí.
Yeah, please, yeah. As I say, they were on the premises for 3 hours, so it was a fairly professional operation.
Do you have CCTV footage which Gardaí are examining?
We do, yeah. We have a number of CCTV images, yeah.
And presumably the company across the road that you referenced there is looking into the situation as well. In terms of the monetary value, I mean, quads are by no means cheap implements. I mean, you're talking a fairly substantial monetary value on them.
You are, yeah. I mean, there's 3 of them, so they're probably valued close on 40,000.
Indeed, very, yeah.
Sale value, yeah.
important then that if you can at all, that you get information on getting those back. Well, we will have our Community Garda information slot a bit later in the programme. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be referenced. It very well may be referenced on that as well, and no harm to give it another rattle as such. But Catherine, important from your point of view that anyone that noticed anything on the roads get in contact with Gardaí. It would be the Gardaí in Ballyshannon, I presume, leading the investigation?
It is, yeah, and it does seem, as I said, that they were in the area from about 8 p.m. on Sunday evening, so they were around the place from 8 until they were on our property at 1 a.m. And there is a number of CCTV footages of them around the roads in the area between 5 and 7 o'clock in the morning. And just, I suppose, to mention the trailer that was stolen, I'm not sure if you have any information on that, but it is a 14-foot triaxle cattle trailer, and it's the model of it's a Blue Falcon, which apparently is fairly unusual or a rare trailer.
Right, so the Blue Falcon trailer, which you believed was stolen from another premises, used to transport the quads that were taken from your premises. A white transit van was used, and was it? You're saying there was potentially they were in the area from 8 the previous evening. Are you suggesting that white transit was spotted in the area the previous evening?
It was. So it was spotted on our road. Yeah.
So again, Gardaí in Ballyshannon are investigating. I don't have Ballyshannon Gardaí's number to hand, but you'll get that fairly easily. So if you have any information on that, please do contact the Gardaí in Ballyshannon. And the Community Garda information slot indeed is going to be on with us, and that will be shortly after the 10 o'clock news and obituary notices. So there'll be more from the Community Garda slot, potentially on this one. I'm not sure if this one is included, but certainly there'll be quite a lot on that too. In the meantime, Catherine, listen, we wish you all the best of luck in recovering those stolen quads, and hopefully you will get some information out there as a result of this appeal. But for now, Catherine, good morning, and we wish you well.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. That's Catherine Cannon there, the owner of Cannon Quads, and there the premises whose was broken into. You've heard Michaela read the story there on the news this morning already. 3 brand new Suzuki King quads were taken. 2 of them 500 non-power steering quads. One a green 750 with a black bull bar on the front, and they believe that theft happened between 1 and 7, with the people responsible on the premises for a number of hours during that period. Right, well, as we said already, we're coming close to the end of the first hour of the programme. We have the news and obituary notices coming up with Michaela very shortly. But for now, what we're going to do is take a very short break. As I say, the news with Michaela will be coming up after this. And then we will have the Community Garda information slot in the second hour. But for now, we'll wish you a very good morning, and we'll talk to you soon.
Chanel, Flower Bomb, Lancôme, Giorgio Armani, Paco Rabanne. Where else but at McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny, this Christmas. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
This Christmas, let TFI Local Link help you get into the festive spirit and bring you where you need to go. Use our regular rural and door-to-door services to connect with friends and family throughout the Christmas season, with many routes offering evening and weekend services too. For a full list of service arrangements, visit transportforireland.ie. TFI Local Link, part of the Transport for Ireland network.
Stay warm for less this winter with Homeland. 5-pack wood logs buy 3 for €13. Hardwood log crate 450 kg, only €329. Nationwide delivery available. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie.
Maybe you're walking home with a guy you really like after a night in the college bar. Or maybe you and another fella are heading back to his in a taxi after meeting in a club. Or perhaps you've gone home with someone after a really great 4th date. There are lots of times and places where we need to say what we want and what we don't want. Whatever the moment, have the consent conversation. A message from the Government of Ireland.
Hello, I'm David Foley, medical herbalist. Are you suffering with stress, anxiety, insomnia? Then ask for Irish Botanica Peace and Calm, a traditional herbal remedy. Irish Botanica Peace and Calm has a naturally relaxing effect, ideal for stress, insomnia, jet lag, and pre-exam anxiety. Call us a natural way, Letterkenny Shopping Centre for more information.
Christmas has arrived at Patterson's. Christmas trees and decorations now on display. Christmas gifts, from Hollywood mirrors to wall art to home fragrances, you'll find the perfect gift at Patterson's. There's a large range of dining tables and chairs, sofas, mattresses and bedroom furniture in stock and ready for Christmas delivery. Open Monday to Saturday 9am till 5:30pm with free local delivery. Patterson's the Hall Lifford, for everything you need this Christmas.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The government is expected to sign off today on a number of changes for new arrivals from Ukraine. Under the plan, state accommodation would only be provided for 90 days. It's also proposed while in state accommodation, their welfare rate would be slashed from €220 to $38.80. Donal Deputy Thomas Pringle says it's a decision that simply doesn't make sense with the severe shortage of housing.
At the moment, there's something over 5,000 asylum seekers who are still resident in direct provision centres because they can't get out. They can't get accommodation outside of the centre. They have got leave to remain, leave to work, and they're not asylum seekers anymore. But yet they can't find accommodation. So how are Ukrainians going to be able to find accommodation if that's the situation? It's a nonsensical idea that the government are coming out with, and I think it's part of the knee-jerk response that we've seen from this government all along as well.
A coroner has found the death of a young girl from County Derry was due to a series of human errors and not systemic failure. 9-year-old Rachel Ferguson from Coshquin died on June the 10th, 2001. She was one of 5 children whose hospital treatment was examined in the long-running hyponatremia inquiry. Donna Marie Doherty has more.
Rachel Ferguson died at the Royal Belfast Hospital after an appendix operation at Altnagalvin Hospital in Derry. As part of the hyponatremia inquiry, Justice O'Hara found that the 9-year-old's death was the result of negligent care. An inquest into her death was ordered in January 2022. Delivering his findings at Belfast Coroner's Court, Coroner Joe McCriskin said he was satisfied that a series of individual human errors resulted in Rachel's death rather than serious systemic structural failures. He recorded Rachel's death as cerebral edema and hyponatremia. The coroner added that he is satisfied that following both the inquiry and this inquest, lessons have been learned.
The final negotiations have been trying to get a deal at the COP28 climate summit in Dubai. But after optimism of progress, some countries are angry that the goal to phase out fossil fuel use by 2050 isn't in the final draft agreement. Instead, nations are being encouraged to help reduce consumption and production. COP28 President Sultan Al-Jaber says compromise is needed.
I need all parties to show even more flexibility to get us to the finish line. The world is watching. Let's not rest until we get this done.
Councillor Donal Coyle has been elected as the new chair of the Donegal Education and Training Board. Councillor Coyle says the delivery of the new Errigal College building in Letterkenny will be high on his agenda. Having previously been a teacher and school principal for many years, he knows all too well how important education is in shaping people's futures.
Education is the key for everybody, for young people and even for adults. There are 15 post-primary schools that are under the auspices of the ETB. I know that all of those schools provide a wide range of curricular subjects and provide a fantastic education to hundreds and hundreds of students right across the county.
Meanwhile, 78% of school leavers in Donegal have gone on to third-level education this year. That's according to the latest Irish Times Feeder Schools report for 2023, which shows around 80% of pupils across the country this year have progressed to college. Fee-paying schools still account for the most pupils progressing to college, with 99% of students continuing their education. Meanwhile, the number progressing from JESH schools in disadvantaged areas has risen to 63%. Carl O'Brien from the Irish Times says there are a number of reasons for that.
Education observers say that there's a number of likely factors behind this. One is that we have created more college places, there's more technological universities in the regions, which makes college more affordable, and also we're far more access initiatives aimed at forging links between deaf schools and third-level colleges.
Weather now sky today will be mostly cloudy with a fair amount of dry weather with some patchy rain or drizzle at times. Highest temperatures of 7 or 8 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, you can keep up to date with the latest local news on our website highlandradio.com. Good morning. The obituary notices for this Tuesday morning, December the 12th. The death has occurred of Patrick Paddy Kelly, Garrison Lane, Dromore Crossroads at Killygordon. Remains reposing at his late residence from 11 o'clock this morning. Funeral leaving from his late residence on Thursday morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church at Crossroads Killygordon at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live on the parish YouTube channel. Family time from 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Michael Mickey Barrett, Tara Court, Letterkenny, and formerly of Turroddy, Ramelton, County Donegal. Remains reposing at the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest at Mountaintop, Letterkenny, this evening from 6 o'clock until 8 o'clock. House private, please. Cremation tomorrow at Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. Family flowers only, donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of Jim McGlynn, funeral directors or any family member. The death has taken place of Grace Carr, née Carr, Gortna-Tran North, Cashel, Fanid and formerly Dewey Litchermack Award. Grace's remains are reposing at her late residence. Removal from there this evening, arriving at 6 o'clock to St Mary's Church, Fanavolti, to repose overnight. Requiem Mass will be held at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, with burial afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to St Mary's Church, Fanavolti, care of any family member or Macateer funeral directors. The death has taken place of Rose Peoples, née Doherty, 44 Castletown Court, Strabane, and formerly of Coolitee, Lifford. Remains are reposing at her home. Funeral leaving her home tomorrow morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlough, Lifford at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to Mary Curie, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time, please, from 11 o'clock to 11 o'clock. The Requiem Mass can be viewed at clonleyparish.com. The death has taken place of Hannah McLaughlin, Carrick's Bar, Glenealy. Hannah's remains are reposing at her late home. Funeral from her late home tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church at Boken, Culdaff for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time from 11 o'clock to 11 o'clock and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass can be viewed on culdaffparish.com. The death has taken place of Neil Devlin, Temple Moyle, Culdaff. Neil's remains are reposing at the home of his late brother, Philip Devlin, at Shore Road, Ballyliffin. Family time, please, from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Funeral Mass will take place tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Patrick's Church, Clay Malin, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. The death has occurred of Patrick Packy Carabin, Dremark, Donegal Town. Remains will repose at Gallagher's Funeral Home, Station Road, Mount Charles, this evening from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Removal from there tomorrow morning, going to St Mary's Church, Killymard, for 11 o'clock funeral mass, followed by cremation. No flowers, please. House private. The death has occurred of Joe Gallagher, 7 The Cottages, Burnfoot. Joe's remains are reposing at his home. Removal tomorrow morning at 10:15 to St Mary's Church, Fawn, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining graveyard. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time, please, from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to the Oncology Unit, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. And the death has taken place of Daniel Canning, Cardone, Rathmullen. Funeral Mass this morning at 11 o'clock in St Joseph's Church, Rathmullen. Burial afterwards in Rathmullen Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on mcnmedia.tv. Family time, please, before the funeral this morning. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
105.9 Highland Radio News. 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 105.9 High Highland. flu and COVID-19 vaccines will give your immune system the top-up it needs to help protect you from serious illness. A flu vaccine is recommended for you if you're 65 or over. A COVID-19 vaccine is recommended for you if you're 50 or over. Both vaccines are recommended for healthcare workers and anyone who is pregnant or has a long-term health condition. Talk to a participating GP or pharmacist or visit hsc.ie for more. From the HSC.
It's the second hour of the 9 to Noon show on Highland Radio. Just a few notes before we go for the bingo numbers and then our Community Garda information slot. There's a diesel spill at Banalecki near Rafo toward Letterkenny. You can even smell it, our caller says. Please be careful. And also, caller says, I'm at the Optum roundabout. It's a little bit slippy. I think there may be some oil spilled. Please do watch out. There's two notices of potential oil spillages. One at Banalecki near Rafo. That's quite close to where the Ballyholey Farm turnoff is, I think. And also the Optum roundabout where it's a bit slippy as well. I think there may be some oil spilt. Sorry, Banalecki is the crossroads further out. Now, under the Treaty of Amsterdam, Ireland, along with Denmark, have an opt-out from EU immigration obligations. Only a referendum will give the mandate to create a paradigm shift in our mass immigration policy. Now, the caller says Ireland is obliged to do a lot of things under international law, which they fail to do, such as uphold the rights of the disabled and the sick. Another caller says the new measures for Ukrainians are just soundbites to appease voters with an election looming. As a person who works in the Department of Social Protection, I can categorically state that a photocopy of a passport is acceptable for asylum seekers to obtain a PPSN. No checks are done to verify it, either with the relevant authority or with Interpol. 80% of asylum seekers never enter the employment market, sometimes through no fault of their own. An Irish or EU citizen, by comparison, must provide valid identification and meet the relevant qualifying criteria in order to avail of social protection services. This does not apply to Ukrainians. Until recently, Ukrainians were allowed to return to Ukraine for 4 weeks on holiday. Irish citizens are allowed a 2-week holiday on job seekers. Added to this, the department inspectors nationwide are dealing with a high volume of duplicate claims under multiple PPSN numbers involving a number of people. There is the HAP discrepancy. A family of 2 adults and 3 children gets €550 a month. More money goes to Ukrainians irrespective of the size of the family. And finally, there's the homeless issue. 14,000 homeless, not a single modular home built for them. Ukrainians are having modular homes built for them in Sligo, also in Dublin and Cork. Perhaps Owen might give his view on the fact that no modular housing has been built for Irish homeless. That's from a caller. Now, next comment. Gardaí need to stop ignoring footpath parking. Same cars every day on the busy Glencar paths. Very tricky for those buggies and for those with mobility issues. And finally, we're delighted to be launching the Three Marys CD at the Mahari Community Centre in Dunlow at 11:30. Everyone is very welcome. There'll be tea, fresh scones and plenty of tasty bites. So the Three Marys CD is being officially launched today, and that's happening at the Mahari Community Centre in Dunlow. And that's one that's well worth supporting. Now it's 13 minutes past 10. If you play Highland Radio, NCBI Radio Bingo, please grab your books and grab your pens, and we will hand you over to Cass.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, the 12th of December. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S7. It's game number 50. The numbers are 50, 40, 35, 3, 2, 57, 73, 63, 39, and finally 46. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The Department of Social Protection is working to improve disability payments in Ireland. There is currently a consultation on how these payments might work better in the future. We want to hear your views on how the system might be improved. To find out more, please visit gov.ie/disability payments reform. A Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
Hugo Boss, Victor and Rolf, Dior, Marc Jacobs and Carolina Herrera. Where else but at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, where you'll find the biggest names in perfume and aftershave this Christmas. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
Find the Volkswagen new with the Caddy Cargo Transporter 6.1 Crafter and the new Amarok with HP finance from 4.9% and service plans from $12.99 per month. Book your test drive at Connolly's Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles, Letterkenny, or visit connellys.ie. Terms and conditions apply. Finance provided by the way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Visit volkswagenvans.ie for more information.
Cooney's Christmas shop has gone mad this Christmas with massive reductions on trees and lights. 7-foot Colorado was $299, now only $129. 7-foot Prelit was $289, now only $199. 1,000 tree bright lights was $79, now only $39.99. Need battery lights for your garland were $7.99, now only $5.99. Hurry though, only while stocks last. Cooney's Christmas shop, Letterkenny Retail Park, Letterkenny. Open 7 days and making Christmas magical.
This is the 9 till noon show. It's 16 minutes past 10 on a Tuesday morning, and we all know what that means.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, with all your perfume and aftershave presents this Christmas delivered to your door, or order online and collect in store. Visit mcgees.ie.
Merry
The
Yuletide, one
Community
and all.
Garda Information
TK Maxx,
Slot is
can
brought to you
spoil-
by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
It's time for the Community Garda slot here on Highland Radio. Delighted to welcome Garda Niall Maguire into studio. Niall, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Donal.
A lot to get through, and that's to report quite a lot of burglaries and thefts this week.
Yeah, Donegal got hit very badly this weekend with crime, Donal. In particular, the Inishowen area had a lot of burglaries, and I heard your earlier caller in relation to Catherine was on about the quads that were stolen, and I'll reiterate that appeal that the information we have in relation to them stolen quads. But yeah, if we could start off, there was also another one in Meeting House Street, Rafo, between 10 p.m. on Saturday the 9th until Sunday the 10th of December. Entry was gained to a boiler house at the property through an unlocked door, and an oil boiler and burner were stolen. So quite an expensive item stolen from that premises, Donal. And if anybody's seen anything or can give us any information in relation to burglary at Meeting House Street, Rafo, on between 10 p.m. on Saturday the 9th and Sunday morning the 10th, please contact my colleagues in Letterkenny on 074 9167 100. Now, the Moville and Greencastle area did get badly hit on Sunday night, Monday morning, and there was multiple burglaries, and I just want to go through them, Donal, if I could. Yeah. The first one was at a domestic house in the area of Mean Letter Beale, Lakemy, hopefully I'm saying that properly, Moville, between midnight and 3 a.m. And it appears that most of these burglaries were around that time, Donal, between midnight and 3 a.m. on Monday the 11th of December. It's believed entry was gained to this particular house through an unlocked rear door, and a sum of cash was stolen alongside a DeWalt angle grinder and a DeWalt drill, which were also stolen from the property. Subsequently, Greg, St Columba's Church was burglarised in Ballinacray, Moville, around the same time, Donal, between midnight and 3:25 a.m. My colleagues were en route to the previous burglary in the house when they observed that the lights were on in the church, and they knew that this was suspicious, and they went in to investigate. And when they got closer, they heard the alarm was ringing, and the front door of the church had been forced open, as had the sacristy door. The sacristy had been ransacked, and damage had been caused to a tabernacle. Another couple of rooms within the church building were also ransacked after entry had been forced. Nothing is believed to have been stolen at this stage, but substantial damage was caused. A very unfortunate occurrance there, Donal.
Yeah, and then the golf club locally as well.
Yeah, next then was the golf club. I'm guessing it'll be around the same time, but the last time someone was there and seen it was secured was Sunday night at 7 p.m. and then it was discovered at 8:30am on Monday. Entry was gained by forcing a rear window, and a number of doors were forced inside the building also. Rooms were ransacked and a sum of cash was stolen from a cash register, and also a charity box from within the building was taken. A burglary then occurred in the Greencastle area between 2:20am and 5:30am. A purse was stolen from an unlocked car. The property had an unlocked shed, and it was entered, and a red and black Makita fuel pump was stolen from within. And then another attempted theft occurred at a property in the area of Carrowhue, Greencastle, between 4am and 6:30am. 2 unlocked cars were entered and ransacked at the property, but fortunately there was nothing of value within them, so there was nothing reported stolen there. So if anybody can help us in relation to this spate of burglaries and damage, if they involved and observed anything suspicious, any activity or vehicles in the Moville Greencastle area in the early hours of Monday morning, please contact my colleagues in Buncrana on 074 93 20540, or the Garda Confidential line as usual is 1800 666 111. So anybody that may have dash cam have been in the Moville Greencastle area between midnight and 7am on Monday the 11th of December, please make that available to my colleagues, Donal. Indeed, contact any Garda station and we'll put you in touch with the investigating detectives.
It does beg the question, are any of these linked? Because I mean, in certain cases the modus operandi is very different, but you know, I'm sure there must be some sort of suspicion that at least some of them will be linked, that the same people could be responsible for more than one. Oh,
absolutely, Greg. Or Donal, sorry. It's for sure they're linked. You know, because it's the same brutal method of entry in each of these burglaries, and it's come in this spate. You know, any showing can go without burglaries for quite a while, and then when they happen together, it's generally the one person or the one gang that's doing it. You know.
So I mean, it could well be that if two people notice something different at different times, you know, it could get a link to a same vehicle. I mean, information could prove absolutely crucial in this case.
For sure, Donal. Yeah, and the way that these are typically solved is somebody noticing something suspicious and tipping the guards off, you know, because my colleagues are out and about there, and you know, once they're maybe moving to the report of one burglary, you know, they don't have the blinkers on going to that burglary. They're looking out because they realise by the time they get there that these offenders are likely gone. So any information in relation to suspicious vehicles, you know, just a quick phone call. If it comes to nothing, fine, but you know, we appreciate the phone call, and that is historically how we solve these burglaries.
And as we say, that information coming from dashcam or just from the observations of people can prove absolutely crucial. Let's just refresh our memories on that incident in Ballybug and Ballintra that we already referred to earlier in the show.
Yeah, I heard Catherine on earlier, and I'm very sorry. I heard her demeanour, and she's very upset about it, rightly so. It's a terrible thing and a terrible loss for that business at this time of year. So this occurred, as Catherine said, between 1am and 4am on Monday the 11th of December at Ballybulg and Ballyshannon. This is a premises that sells quad bikes. The doors to her lock shed were forced open, and 3 new Suzuki King quads were stolen from within. These aren't like kids quads, you know, Suzuki does a lot of kids quads, but these were kind of big quads. One of them was a 750 and 2 of them were 500s. The 2 500s are red in colour and are both non-power steering. One of these 2 has oversized Kenda bear claw tyres on the back. The third quad, the 750, is green in colour and has a black bull bar fitted to the front. Again, anybody that can help us and help Catherine in relation to this, please contact my colleagues in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530.
And the next one we do, and Catherine alluded to this, we do believe the next one is linked, because this very well may be the trailer that moved the quads away from the area. This is in the same area.
For sure, just across the road, Donal, a blue Falcon 14 by 6 foot galvanised cattle trailer was taken from a farmyard in the area of Lachlum, Ballintra, between the hours of 4:30am and 5:15am on Monday the 11th of December. 2 males are believed to have entered the farmyard, and they wheeled the trailer out onto the road to be towed away. So in all likelihood, this was the trailer that was used to take the 3 stolen quads away. So obviously my colleagues are following a definite line of inquiry in relation to the linking these two crimes, but if anybody can help us or has particularly dash cam in the Ballyshannon, Ballintrae area between 4:30am and 5am, please maybe make it available to my colleagues in Ballyshannon who are investigating.
Now, moving on to the area of advice, and we heard a piece there from Donna Marie based on advice that has been given by Gardaí this week, and no harm to repeat it again in terms of protecting your home against burglary, particularly in the winter months.
Yeah, at times it feels like, Donal, I suppose there's very little we can do in relation to some of these burglaries, but we need to mitigate our risk as much as possible, and quite a few of them appeals I mentioned, Donal, there was unlocked vehicles and unlocked doors. So the first thing is lock your vehicles and lock your doors. Turn on some lights in your house, timer switches, stuff like that, LED bulbs, we all know about that. They're not expensive to run. A house alarm, we highly recommend a house alarm, and particularly monitored if possible. A monitored alarm, Donal, is one that when it's triggered, the monitoring company are aware of it, and they contact the key holder by phone, and if they can't get the key holder, then they contact us and we will respond and attend that house or business premises that has a verified alarm. Store your keys away from windows. We've had keys that have been fished out of letterboxes before, with sticks and things, and keys for vehicles, because most modern vehicles now have immobilizers and they're not that easy to steal. You actually need the keys. Don't keep large amounts of cash or jewellery in the house, and if you have to do so for whatever reason, have them in a hidden, concealed lock safe that's secured, and you'll get great advice from any of the locksmiths or safe suppliers in the town here in Letterkenny, Greg, or throughout Donegal.
And the other one that was mentioned obviously was in terms of if you're going away for Christmas, as many people do, don't be proclaiming all over social media that you can't wait for your family holiday.
For sure, we've had instances, I'm not sure how common it is, but it's certainly been in the past where we've had confirmation that people have been targeted because they've been broadcasting that, yeah, we're going away for 2 weeks or whatever, and it's quite obvious then that the house is going to be empty. Another one that we come across quite often, Donal, is because we're policing the roads network, and these criminals have to be on the road to get from A to B from each of their victims. They tend not to travel with a lot of the implements with them because there is no fence there for having implements to break into a house. So what happens in a lot of the time is they actually use the householder's own tools to break into their house. So have your garden shed locked as well, because if you have hammers and ladders and crowbars and things like that, that's what they're using to break into homes. Don't store cash or any valuables in your car, be it locked or unlocked, Greg. And also always contact Gardaí immediately. If you observe any sort of suspicious activity in your area, take note of registration numbers if at all possible, even partial registration numbers, description of the person involved, and very important is the direction of travel. Like I said, my colleagues, once they respond to a call, it would be nice to have at least a direction of travel when there is somebody maybe has committed a crime or is suspicious. Look out for your neighbours, particularly those who are elderly and vulnerable.
And all good advice, and please do bear that in mind. Important all year round, but particularly important now because there can be an increase with the darker nights and so on. There can definitely be an increase in burglaries, and certainly judging by this week's sheets, I mean, there's a lot more burglaries on this week than we might have had, say, during a week in June or July. For sure, Donal, yeah, and it's unfortunate now, but it seems like the ones in Inishowen are certainly linked. I'm not linking the one in Ballintrae aside from the trailer and the quads, but it's one person that's determined to commit burglaries, or a couple of lads that are working together. They can create a lot of devastation, as is quite obvious from this week, Donal. Now, a couple of questions that came in from last week, and the first is, what time do pubs close at the weekend? Yes, pubs, the trading hours of licensed premises between Monday to Thursday are 10:30 in the morning to 11:30 p.m. People might be familiar with that when they head into the supermarket and stuff and they can't buy their bottle of wine and stuff before 10:30 in the morning. Friday and Saturday is generally 10:30 to 12:30 in the morning, but that the certain premises then can apply for exemptions to extend that out then to up to 2:30 a.m. and then Sunday is 12:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. And they are the legal hours. Do Gardaí stop walkers, cyclists and runners in dark clothing and give them high-vis vests?
If we have them, Donal, we do. You're not a cyclist and a pedestrian. They're not committing an offence by not wearing high visibility clothing. They're not legally obliged to, but obviously it's recommended for their own safety. Cyclists are obliged by law to ensure that they are visible using reflectors and lights under the road traffic regulations. Sometimes if we do have high visibility armbands or vests, we do give them out to pedestrians. There is a supply in Letterkenny if anybody wants to call in, particularly this dark time of year. Grania or one of the guards on the front desk, if you ask them nicely, I'm sure if they have one they'll give it to you. But I suppose it's not ultimately our responsibility to give people high vis. You can buy these online and in the sports shop, Donal.
Yeah, I know Sergeant Charlene Anderson did say last week on the show that they did have a supply in Letterkenny at that point. Whether or not they're still there, and I'm sure other Garda stations.
Yeah, I think it's the Road Safety Authority that supplies us, Donal.
Yeah,
so
it would be. Yeah,
if there's any groups or anything out there that are looking maybe for more than a couple. I'd say if you email the Road Safety Authority, they'll probably send you a few.
Yeah. Well, Garda Maguire, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Donal.
All that's the Garda slot. It'll be up on our social media, and it'll be up on the Garda Facebook page as well a little bit after the show finishes. But for now, Niall Maguire, Garda, thank you very much indeed.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91260025. Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, with all your perfume and aftershave presents this Christmas delivered to your door, or order online and collect in store. Visit mcgees.ie.
Merry Yuletide, one and all. At TK Maxx, you can spoil all your loved ones with big brand gifts that are always up to 60% less than the RRP.
I'm gonna need a bigger basket.
Fabulous gifts literally everyone will love. From kids' toys, designer jewellery to luxury candles. Big gifts, small prices. In store this Christmas at TK Maxx.
The Three Amigos, Jimmy Buckley, Robert Mazzell and Patrick Feeney are back on tour with their award-winning live show. See The Three Amigos live. Clonry Hotel, Letterkenny, Tuesday, January 23rd. Tickets, priced €35, are now on sale at the hotel reception and Ticketmaster.ie, where extra charges may apply.
Happy Christmas from the Three Amigos.
Hi, Nathan Carter here, and I'm delighted to say I've just had 2 installations from Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, and I have to say their attention to detail is second to none. With their sleek design and craftsmanship, your dream kitchen is just a visit away. So why not head over to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms and let the magic begin.
Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, Donegal Town. More kitchens your way since 1996. Visit cherrymore.ie or call 9725 to book your free design appointment.
This Christmas at Super Value, we have great offers to help you share the magic, like Super Value Fresh Irish Tomahawk Steak, save 33%. Super Value Signature Taste Party Food, 2 for €8. Selected Club, Pepsi Max and 7-Up 24-pack cans, €10. Plus, get money off vouchers every week on the Real Rewards app too. Share the magic this Christmas with Super Value, in-store or online.
Do you need a UK address? Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Dairy. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Dairy. Call 048 71 87 8077 or online spacehubdairy.com for more details.
You could own a brand new car worth €30,000. Someone will get a call from Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon show on December the 22nd. Simply go to highlandradio.com, click on the car link, answer an easy question and buy a ticket for €10, 6 for €50 or 10 for €80. Highland Radio's Great Car Giveaway.
And don't forget, by the way, we also have the Grand Day giveaway from now until the 22nd, when that car will be given away. If you have entered that draw and you have a ticket for the car, you will also be entered in a draw for €1,000 every day between now and then. And here's how it works. Every day, a call will be made to one lucky listener. The phone will ring. If the call goes unanswered, the prize doesn't disappear. It just rolls over to the next day and the next and the next. So what will happen is, on one of the programmes on the station this afternoon, a call will be made, and if you answer within the set time while the phone is ringing, you then will be asked a very straightforward question and you will win €1,000. If you haven't yet got a ticket, you can do so now. You can do so online at highlandradio.com, or indeed the lines are open 074 91 25,000. You can call and our team will take the call, and you can buy your ticket online as well. So 074 91 25,000, you can ring and you can get your ticket, or you can book it, as we say, online. That call will be made at some stage today and every day until the 22nd. And on the 22nd, Greg will be calling someone and giving away a new Skoda Kamiq. Now, I want to move on to something completely different. We're going to Zoom. And I remember way back in the midst of time, on my mother's birthday one morning many, many years ago, Gay Byrne read a request on the radio. And it was one of those amazing things, because when Gay Byrne read your request, that was something big. And when Gay Byrne read your letter on air, that was something really important. And it was a key part of very, very many households, that the Gay Byrne show on radio. And we all know Gay, obviously, from the Late Late Show. But the radio show was a hugely popular show, and a hugely important show as well, because it was probably the linchpin of national broadcasting on a day-to-day basis. Gay Byrne in the morning, and I can still hear that tune humming in my head. I'm well old enough to remember listening to that show regularly, and my parents being glued to the radio while it was on. And a collection of the letters that were sent in to the Gay Byrne show has been collated and brought together and published. And who better to collate those letters than Gay's daughter, Susie Byrne. So I'd like to say Susie joins us on Zoom this morning. Susie, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Lovely to be here and there.
It's our pleasure. Susie, it must have been of great interest to you to actually sit down and sift through the letters, because, I mean, I don't know how many letters you had to sift through in order to compile the book, but I'm sure it must have been well into the thousands, if not the tens of thousands.
It was thousands, very overwhelming, and a much bigger group of letters than I thought existed even within the archives. And the archives are filed on a daily basis. All of the programme files for each day are filed. So you're sifting through programme files of the actual running order of the day, as well as, and then finding letters within each day, which actually, although it ended up, because of the way things are filed, it ends up being a bigger task. It also gave a much better understanding of the way the programme worked, and the way that the light and shade and the gear change within the programme. Although there were some very, very harrowing letters, they were also able to switch to lighter stuff as well. So during each programme, it would move from one to the other, but there was thousands of letters, and all handwritten, obviously, so they had to be deciphered as well as read.
And sometimes we forget that it was groundbreaking to an extent that we wouldn't appreciate now, in that people were raising issues in letters to the Gay Byrne show on radio that would not be discussed anywhere else. And in many ways, he was an absolute pioneer in terms of issues that he would have brought to light on radio, because I'm sure there were many, many issues of abuse, issues of, very sensitive nature that maybe are discussed an awful lot more openly now. But back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, that was not the case.
Absolutely not. And the letters, when you're reading the letters, you really feel that the person who's writing, although they're writing to a national radio programme, they are writing to him specifically, and they're trusting him with, as you said, stuff that they would never have said before. And I don't know whether they even maybe spoke about it afterwards to their families, because a lot of the letters were, although they weren't anonymous, they did say, please do not read my name out on air for various reasons, or for obvious reasons. So, and they were pouring from the heart and taking huge risks, because, I mean, they would say often, I have 5 children. I live here in Mayo, or I live somewhere, and they could kind of be identifiable just by their. And they, in fairness to the program, where there was specific information that might have identified somebody within their letter, that would have been left out, so that they really, if they did not want their name or their person to be known, it wasn't. But absolutely, it was all very groundbreaking, and you felt that people were just in their kitchens and they just sat down there and then, having heard something else maybe, to write their story, and it flowed from that. It was usually one letter or one comment which just opened the floodgates, and they would come down the letters in their droves. It was incredible.
And it's noticeable, I'm sure, that very few of the letters, I suspect, are addressed to Mr. Byrne. They're all addressed Dear Gay. And that's telling, because they saw him as, be it a big brother, be it a father figure, but they saw him as a friend. He had that, and it was fairly unique at the time, that, you know, he was very much gay. He was... he's our mate, he's our brother, he's the one we trust. And the level of trust Gay held was probably, if you had done the sort of, you see many transparency surveys published these days where how much do people trust A, B, C, D and E. I suspect if you had done a trust survey in the 1980s, Gay Byrne would be about ahead with about 5 times more votes than anybody else in terms of a trust competition. I mean, they trusted him implicitly.
They trusted him, and I think you get the feeling from the letters and from listening to a lot of audio that I did, that they trusted him because he got to their level and he believed them. And a lot of them were telling stories that were kind of unbelievable at the time and would have been going against the grain, and probably had they told their nearest and dearest, they would have been told, get back into your box now and don't be mentioning that here again. So they opened up their hearts and they trusted him. And I think that he respected that. And, you know, when I'm looking at the research and speaking to his producers and stuff, you know, they would always say that from, he went on live at 9 o'clock, just after the 9 o'clock news. And really from about 8 o'clock in the morning, nobody went near him in the studio. He was just rehearsing. So the letters that he read out were rehearsed letters. And he kind of got the intonation right. He knew that if somebody had sent a letter to him which was very raw and honest, that he gave the letter itself justice by rehearsing it before he went on air. He wasn't just reading it off the cuff. And I think that all of the little bits of culminate in the trust that you're talking about.
And he didn't always necessarily provide answers. He didn't always necessarily provide the sage advice that was going to address the question. But perhaps the most important thing he did, as you've just said, was he listened and he believed. And maybe the believed is the most important thing of all. That when people felt, they say a problem shared is a problem halved. Well, I mean, you know, Gay Byrne shared tens of thousands of problems over the years on that. And even if he didn't have the answers, he had that sort of calming presence and that calming sense to the person that you have been heard, you are not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the times, you know, when you're listening to back to the radio program, and I tried to include a bit of it in the book as far as I could, but he would say to the listeners, he would say, I want you to stop whatever it is you're doing, sit down and listen to this. This needs your full attention. And at the end of the letter, he might just say that he might say nothing, or he might just say that will stay with you for the rest of the day. And I think that in that sense, his voice wasn't required. He recognized that the people, it was all in their words and their letters. And later on, as things got, there was lots of letters about marriage, about affairs, about all of this stuff that went on. And then he brought Maureen Gaffney in to give advice, because he wasn't, as you say, he wasn't trying to give advice. He was reading out people's, but he wasn't in their situation. Although for a lot of the Catholic stuff and a lot of the church stuff, he was a product of that environment as well. He wasn't like he'd been shipped in. He knew the harshness of the Catholic Church. He knew he'd been in a Christian Brothers school. He knew that the chances were that people were telling the truth, because he'd seen it himself in a lot of things.
And
which made it a bit easier.
Yeah, and that sense, I'm sure there was times when he was reading out letters and maybe he mightn't it mightn't necessarily have tallied with his own personal beliefs, mightn't necessarily have been what he would choose from his own ethical standpoint or viewpoint. But he also had that openness to appreciate that, you know, other people may have had different views to him, and they were their views and they were entitled to them.
Absolutely. And I think he would have always said he was a broadcaster, and it wasn't about him. It was always about the listener and always about them. And you know, the listenership figures and the response to all of these various letters and discussions, he knew that that's what people wanted. And I think the in the book, the homosexuality chapter is quite telling of that, because you have people writing in with all the different perspectives. You have gay men, predominantly, weirdly, although most of the letters within the archives are actually from women. Within the homosexuality realm, a lot of the letters were from men, gay men, some men that didn't, that knew they were gay, but knew they were destined to a life of loneliness and solitude because they could never be what they wanted to be. Then you had people who were vehemently against homosexuality, and you had mothers writing in to say, my son or my daughter came to us a couple of weeks ago with something to tell us, and we thought the world was ending, and she just told us that she was a lesbian or he was a gay, and this was the best news ever, because they had thought the worst. And these people, you can see in their torturous letters that they dreaded the day of telling their parents, and actually for those of them that did, the parents, well, not always, to be honest, not always, but some parents absolutely threw their arms around them, and the relationships flourished from there because there was always something in the background. So that chapter for me was a great one in that seeing the different perspectives of different people coming through in letters, and how you just let it flow, let the people talk.
The book contains many, many of the letters, but I mean, only a tiny, tiny proportion of all the letters I'm sure you went through. What were your criteria for picking them, and how difficult was it to put some letters to one side and not use them because you didn't have the space?
Very difficult, in short. But what I did was, as I said earlier on the programme, there's thousands of letters. And so initially I was very, very overwhelmed and had to kind of step away from it for a while, and came back to it, that okay, no, so my fundamental criteria was, except for the Northern Ireland chapter, all of the other chapters, the letters had to be my story. So this happened to me, or my family, because there were so many letters that were opinions or telling stories about something that they'd heard or something, or reactions to things. So by just eliminating any letters of that nature, it just became about everyone's personal, whoever wrote their own personal story, and that was the fundamental criteria. And then because unfortunately a lot of the letters had the same story, the same heartbreak, the same cruelty, and then it was really just a case of taking the different stories themselves and say, okay, well, that letter is kind of the same as the next one, so let's just choose one of those two, so that we could then, you know, like even in, so for example, in say the marriage chapter, there's people who had affairs, there were people who had unconsummated marriages, there were people who were having an affair, as in they were the person having an affair with a married man. There were some married men wrote in, some people who had separated and regretted. So we were just to try and get the balance of all the letters. It was not easy. It took a year longer than I thought it would. I thought we would be publishing this book this time last year, but I just wasn't ready. There was too much in it.
But you needed to be happy with the final product, and you needed to be happy that what you were presenting was an accurate reflection of...
Yes, well, that's it. And I kind of felt that I was only going to do this once. And although there was a little bit of pressure to get it done for last year, I really felt that it would be, if we do it once and we do it properly and spend another bit more time making sure that when we look back on each chapter, that there isn't anything really left out, that it's a curated collection of what's in there, and it really reflects what's in the archives as much as it possibly could.
The show ran from 1973 to 1998, 2 hours a day, with upwards of 850,000 people listening every day. Now, when you bear in mind that the population of the country for much of that time was less than 4 million, 850,000 was pretty much, 20% plus of the entire population.
Yes, incredible. And a higher percentage, given that the percentage of the listenership was women. So if 50% of the population was women, an even higher percentage of, probably 30-40% of women listening in every day. So the influence was massive. And the influence, I think what's very apparent as you go through the book was that the people in the far reaches of the country were listening to each other and realizing that actually the problems that they had or the things that were going on in their lives were going on all over the country. And that, I think, was the strength of those letters and the beautiful handwriting and beautiful way people, what overwhelmed me more than anything was the way that people could write their life and their issues in such a beautiful way without any emails, without any editing, without it literally and foolscap pages or those lots of letters in those little ring binder with the wire, the notebooks with wires. So they just grabbed paper and wrote down from the heart and wrote their story and posted it off. And I think that from researching and listening again to audio, that was such a lifeline to people in the far corners of the country who thought they were living this life alone, and they weren't.
Dear Gay, a handwritten history of Ireland compiled by Susie Byrne. Susie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. That's
Thank
Susie
you very much.
Byrne
Happy
there.
Christmas to you all.
And happy Christmas to yours as well. That's Susie there, the daughter of the wonderful Gay Byrne, and the book Dear Gay, a handwritten history of Ireland. It's 10 to 11. Going to take a short break. Back after these.
Gift sets by celebrity, by budget, or from the classic collection at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For the perfect present every time, visit mcgees.ie, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
Discover the wonders of the ESIS Centre on the Donegal-Derry border. Have a walk in our Celtic Peace Garden and enjoy delicious food in our Sanctuary Cafe. We have an organic farm with produce on sale at the farm shop. The ESIS Centre promises a special and different Christmas with fabulous food and a Christmas shop with great gift ideas. A real Christmas treat awaits at this hidden gem. Google Celtic Peace Garden for directions.
Make Christmas magical with so many festive delights at Lidl. Savour the rich taste of Tipperary, our award-winning deluxe Irish Cashel Blue, only $3.29. And break out the nice glasses with up to 25% off across our Christmas wine sale, like deluxe Sauvignon Blanc, now $8.99. Wishing you a magical Christmas with Lidl. Get the facts, be drinkaware, visit drinkaware.ie.
Stay warm for less this winter with Homeland. Willow Warm Eco Briquettes, 100% renewable, 100% Irish wood. Buy 3 bales, get 2 fire logs free. Nationwide delivery available. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie.
Sporting gifts this Christmas. Try Brian McCormick Sports. BBE boxing gloves and accessories. Unicorn dartboards and cabinets. BCE and Riley fold-away pool tables. Click on bmcsports.ie to see the new range. High-vis running jackets with high-vis hats, vests and accessories. Garmin watches to keep you on track. Give the gift of sport this Christmas. Try a BMC Sports gift voucher.
Hot Country TV Awards concert in association with Galway Irish Crystal, 26th of March, Mount Errigal Hotel, starring Nathan Carter, Mike Denver, Claudia Buckley, Derek Ryan, The Tumbling Paddies, Robert Mazzell, Jimmy Buckley, Patrick Feeney, David James, Olivia Douglas, Michael English, Declan Nerney, Jerry Guthrie and many, many more. Tickets €30 available from Hotel Reception, Ticketmaster and hotcountrytv.com.
Whatever the weather, Christmas shopping in Letterkenny will brighten your December. The Highland Weather Forecast, brought to you by Shop LK. See shoplk.ie or like us on Facebook.
Mostly cloudy with some showery rain this morning, particularly in coastal areas. A good deal of dry weather, though, through the day with a few showers interspersed. Top temperature 7 to 8 degrees Celsius, light variable breezes becoming north to northwesterly later and freshening along the coast. And as we mentioned, Letterkenny Chamber there. Caller just asking, is there late night shopping in Letterkenny tonight? I'm sure some of them will be at least. If you have anything you can add to that, please let us know. I want to mention John McLaughlin, the CEO of Donegal County Council, is going to join us in studio after 11. If you have any questions about Donegal County Council's budget, which was passed last week, call us on 07491 25,000 or text us, WhatsApp us on 086 60 25,000. And just a notification, there's been an oil spill on the outside lane of the dual carriageway outside Letterkenny. Now, given that we've already reported oil spills at Balnalecki near Rafo and at the Optum roundabout, I wonder, could they all be linked? It is certainly a possibility. So really, if you're travelling from Rafo toward Letterkenny, please do take care, because there could be oil on that road. Now, Dr. Mary Hainsworth is the service manager with Donegal Domestic Violence, and she joins us on the line. Dr. Mary, good morning.
Morning, Donal. How are you doing?
Very well indeed. The Donegal Domestic Violence Service is launching its Safe at Home campaign, and we know that sadly Christmas time can be a time of heightened emotions. It can be a time when, for many, it's anything but the season of goodwill.
It is indeed, yeah. And we do sometimes do a Christmas, like a Christmas toy appeal, and, you know, the focus is on Christmas and buying presents for children. But I think this year we've been hit by the reality that for a lot of children and young people, you know, one of the best presents you can give them is actually that kind of freedom from the fear and intimidation that's often got when, you know, they're either experiencing domestic violence or there's an extreme alcohol use within the house. And oftentimes the two combined together can cause quite a stressful time for young people. So we're advertising and putting out there a campaign to raise funds for ourselves, but it's to support clients to make sure that their homes have maybe additional safety and security measures. So we are trying to encourage families to stay in the home, not with an abuser, but if they've moved out, to either make their new home safe with security cameras, maybe they need a panic alarm, or if they're staying in the family home and think that things might escalate, that we're looking at additional security measures there. So it's all about trying to get the message across that maybe the best present we can give children this year, particularly those living with domestic abuse, is to live in a household that's free of that violence. We know the calls to Childline will go through the roof over Christmas, and most of those calls are domestic violence related or addiction issues.
I heard a comment recently, actually, I was quite taken by someone said that the essence of Christmas is it makes what's good better and it makes what's bad worse.
It can do, yeah. And I think, you know, for a lot of people, Christmas can be quite a stressful time of the year. So what we're trying to do is, you know, put a message across. It's not about having to buy loads of presents and, you know, think that that's the kind of the go-to symbol of a good Christmas. It is about all the other things, you know, it's the smaller things that matter. And I think, you know, that message of originally Christmas was about peace and goodwill, but that emphasis on peace, particularly at this time of the year, and certainly given what's happening globally, I think should be a key message for Christmas this year. And that's what we're putting at the heart of the campaign. You know, try and get kids to have some peace this Christmas.
If people want to get in touch with you over the coming weeks, how can they do so?
Well, we have a helpline number there. It's 1800 262677, and we do support families to move. So, you know, just because it's the run up to Christmas and you think the services will be slowing down or not available, we are 24 hours and we will continue to be 24 hours completely over the Christmas period. So give us a call if you need any support or assistance. And that can be about moving, it can be about looking for support around child access, it can be looking at legal support or court accompaniment. Any of those services are available.
And if people want to organise a fundraising event for you, which I'm sure will be very much appreciated, particularly at this time, they can make contact with you and arrange that as well.
They can, and they can also use our website, donegaldomesticviolenceservices.ie, and there is a button at the top there. There's one to donate, but next to that there's one if you want to fundraise, and it helps to set up a page that you can then use to get direct people to send money to, so you don't have to handle anything. It can all be set up on that page. So it's actually really easy to do if anybody wants, you know, people are back home for Christmas, maybe want something to do between Christmas and New Year. It's a great opportunity.
And one of the things you're trying to do as part of the campaign is to provide equipment such as security cameras, panic alarms where appropriate, also provide supervised access for children where needed over the holiday period. So you're trying to provide what you can to try and make things as good as possible for some of the people you're dealing with.
Absolutely. You know, we just want people to be able to have a good time, feel safe, you know, and feel that, you know, there are additional supports and measures that are available there. And, you know, to contact the service if you want to access any of those. But that is our message. Let's try and make Christmas safe. You know, let's have that as the focus for this year.
Dr. Murray Hainsworth, thanks indeed for speaking to us this morning. We wish you and those involved with the service all the best over Christmas. Hopefully you won't be too busy and hopefully it's as good a Christmas as it can be for those who use your services.
Absolutely. Thank you, Donal, and the same to yourself and all the staff at Highlands.
Thank you very much indeed. And that's Dr. Murray Hainsworth there, and a very, very important campaign. That's the Donegal Domestic Violence Safe at Home campaign. They're doing what they can to make Christmas as safe as possible, and anything we can do to help, I'm sure, would be much appreciated and very important. Headlines coming up. It's a minute and a half to 11 o'clock. We'll take a short break. Back after these.
The 9 till noon show with McGee's Chemist Main Street Letterkenny, offering a great range of digital cameras and binoculars for Christmas. McGee's, the photographic experts, where the best costs less.
Check out these special offers at Simpson's Supermarket, Letterkenny. There's quality street tins, €10. Coke Zero, Coke Diet cans, 12-pack, €7. Tato cheese and onion assorted 12-pack, €3.50. There's the Slur range, 750ml, 2 for €3.50. Plus, we are now taking orders for your Christmas turkey. While there, check out Peggy's Kitchen Cafe, only 2 minutes from Letterkenny Hospital. For all your Christmas needs, it has to be Simpson's Supermarket, with great value every day.
This Christmas, let TFI Local Link help you get into the festive spirit and bring you where you need to go. Use our regular rural and door-to-door services to connect with friends and family throughout the Christmas season, with many routes offering evening and weekend services too. For a full list of service arrangements, visit transportforireland.ie. TFI Local Link, part of the Transport for Ireland network.
From the luxurious to the sustainable, beautiful Irish-made products that stand the test of time. Find something you love forever at madelocal.ie. Made local, made to last. Supported by Design and Crafts Council Ireland and me, Lyra.
Hello there. Golly gosh, it's almost Christmas and we want to help you here at Harvey's Point make it extra special. And what better way than with a Harvey's Point gift card. Available to order direct from the hotel 074 97 22208 or online at harveyspoint.com. It's the gift that keeps on giving all year round. A Harvey's Point gift card.
Tá gá irid seansig póistíon flua oil agus atáid daoine fásta. Rud a déitach a bheith ina chúis cinis chun cúisig. Tá gach páiste idir 2 mbliain agus 7 mbliain a 10 díos in an vaccine flu sróna oil ar an aisce. Is bailach sa bháilte agus éfachtach atá an soc in iad cosint, chun maid leis an cuid eile den tailach. Jane cuine le de Doctor Generalta nó le de Fotacare. Tilla óla ar fáil ag hsc.ie/flu. ó aimanacht nar servicios lunche.
It's time to give your favourite hospitality business the recognition they deserve. Nominate now for the Highland Radio Hospitality Awards at highlandradio.com. Hurry, let's celebrate excellence together. Nominations close on December 13th.
This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. It's just gone 11 o'clock. Time for headlines, and we say good morning to Michaela Clark.
Good morning. A church was ransacked and cash stolen from a number of properties during a spate of burglaries in Inishowen in the early hours of yesterday morning. A sum of cash was stolen from a house in Leckamy, while at St Columba's Church, Ballinacray, the sacristy was ransacked and damage caused to a tabernacle. It was later discovered a sum of cash was stolen from a cash register and charity box at Greencastle Golf Club, while in the same area, a purse was stolen from an unlocked car and a fuel pump taken from an unlocked shed. The Health Minister says some hospitals are failing to clear their weekend patients, leading to an increase in trolley numbers. Stephen Donal says he has met with the HSE to ensure the right rostering is in place for the next few weekends. 747 patients were waiting for a hospital bed yesterday, 57 at Letterkenny University Hospital. The government is expected to sign off on a number of changes for new arrivals from Ukraine. Under the plans, state accommodation would only be provided for 90 days. Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle says it's a decision that simply doesn't make sense with the severe shortage of housing. A coroner has found the death of a young girl from County Derry was due to a series of human errors and not systemic failure. 9-year-old Rachel Ferguson from Coshquin died on June the 10th, 2001. She was one of 5 children whose hospital treatment was examined in the long-running hyponatremia inquiry. It's emerged a cattle trailer used in the theft of almost €40,000 worth of quads from a South Donegal business was stolen from a nearby business. 3 brand new Suzuki quads were taken from Cairn Quads, Ballintra, between 1 and 7 o'clock yesterday morning. CCTV footage shows a white transit van believed to be involved close to the premises before travelling to another local business from which the cattle trailer was stolen to transport the quads. And it seems a final draft agreement from the COP28 Climate Summit is now being hastily rewritten. The conference in Dubai was supposed to end this morning, but discussions are continuing. Some countries are angry about a decision to not phase out fossil fuel use by 2050. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Millionaire Raffle from the National Lottery is back. With 1 millionaire guaranteed and over €6.3 million in cash prizes to be won, it's the biggest ever. The draw is on New Year's Eve and tickets are limited to 600,000. The National Lottery. It could be them. Gift responsibly.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Fill your stocking this Christmas from all the great gift ideas at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till Noon Show. See mcgees.ie or like McGee's on Facebook for a chance to win some great prizes.
At Tesco, we're helping you become more Christmas. Make a charcuterie table and mix and match with 3 for 2 and hundreds of meats and cheeses like Tesco Finest Italian Antipasti, our finest Board Bia certified Irish Angus Chateaubriand, now half price. It's a cut above the rest. And now for what we've all been dreaming about, our Board Bia approved fresh Irish turkeys are available in store from December 19th. Tesco, every little helps. Club card required, subject to availability. Cheapest product free, available in most stores. Prices vary in express stores. See tesco.ie.
Are you ready for unmissable magic? Are you ready for winter in Dublin? Longer evenings when the city comes to life. Festive fun all through December with Christmas lights and dazzling sights. Before the countdown begins to New Year's Festival Dublin, the only place to be when the clock strikes midnight. So cap off the year in Dublin, celebrating like never before. Make your plans today at visitdublin.com. Winter in Dublin. It's magic. Brought to you by Folja Ireland.
Order your new 241 Suzuki with 0% finance from Barry Brown Cars Milford, main Suzuki dealer in Donegal. Order your 241 Suzuki, one of the most reliable and cost-effective brands on the market, with 0% finance on selected models. So get down to Barry Brown Cars Milford, Suzuki Sales Dealer of the Year, and secure your 241 today.
Christmas gifting with Irwin Expert Electrical. All the big brands under one roof. Samsung tablets from €139, air fryers from €69, and a huge range of Dyson and Shark hair care. Smartwatches, gadgets, and TVs. There's sure to be something for everyone. Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny, and Buncrana.
Christmas is the season of giving, but it can be difficult to know who on your list wants what. Save yourself the guesswork by giving the gift of choice. Whether you're buying for the foodie, fashionista, or homebird of the family, they'll love a Dunnes Stores gift card. They can choose from everything we have in store and online, from fashion to homewares to groceries. It's the perfect choice to make this Christmas. Visit dunstores.com for details. Make Christmas for everyone. Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
It is 6 minutes past 11 o'clock. I'm delighted to welcome into studio John McLaughlin, who is the Chief Executive of Donegal County Council. John, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Donal.
I was present at the budget meeting that was held in Lifford last week. The council's revenue budget was agreed with spending of 185.5 million, agreed, and that'll be effectively the day-to-day money it'll take to run Donegal County Council for 2024. A capital budget also agreed as well with over 250 million in spending there, mainly from government grants. But talk to me first, John, about the revenue budget. I mean, effectively, that's the money you now have to run Donegal on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, Donal, and first of all, yes, budget day is always a big day for Donegal County Council, both in terms of the management and the councillors, and indeed the people of the county. It sets up the programme for the next following 12 months. And you're right, the revenue is, we might refer to as operational. It does things, for example, maintenance of roads, maintenance of housing, nearly all the maintenance programmes, then the day-to-day running of the council.
And in terms of the meeting, and journalists often have discussions about the legendary budget meetings of the 80s and the 90s and the 10s, some of which I did attend myself, where the idea that a budget would be agreed and we'd all be on the road home by 5 o'clock in the evening, there was a time that would have been unheard of. Budget meetings could, particularly when they were called the estimates rather than the budget, but they could go on a long, long time, and you were at many of those.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, and I suppose what starts saying our budget making process really starts about June. And June each year, so we build it up, and we have many meetings and workshops with councillors throughout that period, between then and the end of the year. So that's what makes it seem to go quicker on the day if all the background work's done, and generally, I suppose, an understanding of what are the issues, what are the key points, how they can be facilitated or not, as the case might be, and a discussion around that. And
now, obviously, things are different in that there are no longer commercial water charges to be discussed. There are no longer domestic water charges or rates to be discussed. And in terms of the commercial rate itself, the commercial rate has stayed very much the same now for the past number of years. So I suppose in terms of the discretionary council charges, there isn't as much, shall we say, controversial discussion to take place now as there might have been 15 years ago.
That's correct, yeah. The key heading is the commercial rates for the revenue budget now. Other charges happen at different times during the year. However, that doesn't stop the entire programme, because as you know, the book covers the entire programme for the year. So other items can come up, even if they aren't directly related to the rates.
And in terms of the capital budget, which was also agreed on the day, now an awful lot of that money obviously is coming from central government, but you are also doing some co-funding, be it 10% or be it 25%, and there's also some development charges coming through and that, so there is a very small revenue element to the capital budget, but mainly that's funding that's really out of the council's control.
Yeah, I think what our control is to actually make the submissions and compete for the capital projects. That's where our strongest, and we totally count on capital projects for the development of the county. You're right, a lot of them nowadays require the co-funding. Some is 25%, now more recently reduced to 10%. And our role then is to raise money for that. And you might have seen the book with about 40 million co-funding raised under loans. Yep. So the revenue budget pays that off each year.
And in terms of, I mean, there are so many projects. Now, I mean, look, we can sit here and say, I'm sure there are people going, what about this road? What about that bridge? What about, you could, if it were feasible, you could present the government with $1 billion plus in projects that need to be done in Donegal.
Yeah,
so to actually put that capital programme together in a way that's realistic and achievable is a job in itself, because you have got to pick the projects you believe A, can get funding, and B, can be delivered in a reasonable time and in a way that best benefits the county.
Yeah, Donal, and I suppose that's no different in the revenue. We build that up over, in fact, capital projects are built up over a number of years, but a lot of them span many years, multi-annual. So you build that up and prioritise with elected members over the years. Then you compile them into the annual report. It's actually a 3-year capital budget we present. The first year more certain than the last two. But that's built up, and if you look at some of the projects, it might take 10 years or longer. So that's a long planning process.
One of the big projects we're looking at now is the 10T project, and there's 3 basic strands to it. And the interesting point's been made by officials that in terms of the 3 strands, one of the things the council, I certainly get the impression from responses given to questions, and you may confirm this, that the council executives' view very much with the 10T is that for the moment all 3 projects must go together. And you've basically got Manor Cunningham Lifford, you've got Letterkenny Manor Cunningham, which will incorporate the much talked about Bonagee Link, and then you've got the Twin Towns bypass, Ballybofey bypass. The council's view at this point is all 3 need to move together in tandem until we get sort of beyond the planning stage and into the more formal stages of actual operations.
Yeah, absolutely, Donal. It's vital we stay together as one big project. In fact, one big project actually we're told is better, and when you look at the overall financing of that and the long-term programme, so we're actually intent on keeping it together until the planning stage is complete. Then it'll be a matter for the funders then whether they can fund as one big project or they look at phasing it. So we're not one to say, well, break it up now, want it all to go together, and that's the best for Donegal, the best chance we have. We're ahead of a lot of the pack in the country now in terms of where that capital project position. As you know, it's been in the final stage before going to Cabinet to get the next milestone approval. Indeed, our council is pushing very hard with delegations, both to TII and the Department of Transport, to make sure it stays on track now. We were disappointed over many years. It didn't go at the time of the motorways, and now we have to go again.
And some of these projects, I mean, they've been on the... I mean, I was speaking to Councillor Patrick McGowan about 2 years ago, and I was reminiscing that I very much remember covering a debate in the council chamber many years ago during a time where I suspect you were probably the head of roads at the time on the council. But I remember him standing up and he made a comment about the Ballybofey bypass, and he made the comment, he said, Cathaoirleach, if these delays continue, we mightn't get this road done until 2010. Now, I mean, and that's how long. I mean, and the Twin Towns bypass, as far as I can see, has been on the agenda for as long as I've been covering Donegal County Council meetings, and I've been covering Donegal County Council meetings for 33 years.
Yeah. No, Donal, you've been generous there. People are telling me it's on that carriage for about 50 years.
Probably, yeah.
There were 2 bypasses maintained for one on each side of the town. Now, of course, we know the background, and it simply didn't get funded over the years while we watched all the motorways get built. And then when our turn came, there was a downturn around 2008, and then we brought back under and it's a good enough thing called the 10T, a European-driven title that allowed it to get restarted sooner than the rest. So now we're back on again, and we're hopeful this time it'll be finally delivered.
By the way, if anyone wants to take part in this conversation and send in any questions you have about the council's budget, the council spending and so on, this is your opportunity. We're speaking to the Chief Executive of Donegal County Council, John McLaughlin. And John, in terms of the budget, a lot of discussion on Wednesday of last week, when the meeting took place, about how well the council kept into its budget. A number of councillors saying that there was a slight overrun on spending for 2023, but you then pointed out, there was a slight overrun on spending, but there was also a slight surplus in revenue. So, I mean, the council is pretty much balancing its books.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that point was made. The outturn was a lot higher than the budget this time last year, but the outturn was higher because we got several more grants during the year, several million. That's a good thing. We never turn away extra grants, and that's well known, and we just spent it. What we did turn out for the last number of years, in the last almost 10 years, is a slight surplus each year, and that we held that because the council had a large deficit for many years of a few 100,000 each year, maybe up to 600,000-700,000 to write off that old debt. So I always try to come in just marginally underneath the plan every year, and our auditors are looking at that very tightly. And it's good to do that. It keeps everything under control. It also allows us in the year ahead to go further with plans and allow the proper prioritisation of elected members when the money is available, as it should be. And it also gives you a bit of wriggle room in terms of if the government comes forward and says, we can give, there's bridges need to be done, for instance, in every one of the municipal districts, and there's various roads or it may be flood repair or whatever, that if the government comes to you and says, look, we can provide X amount of money for that bridge or for that project, you can go, we can provide 10% because we have that money in reserve that we can just dip into, so that the council always tries to have something that it can say, if it comes through, we can provide a bit of money to do the project. Yeah, well, so we always try to provide it. We have nothing in reserve. We actually have a deficit at the moment that we're writing off from several years ago. So, but we have, it means moving things around and reprioritising in order to create that margin, or getting loans, and then you pay for those for 20 years. So there's no mistake about it. We're very, very tight for money, but been well managed and run tightly. We count mainly on government supports in Donegal, apart from the local money we raise here. And that's probably true of most counties outside the Dublin region.
Let's talk a bit about commercial rates, because the commercial rates are substantial. And if I recall off the top of my head, in around about the 40 million mark. It will be the projected income from rates in 2024. It's about 40, maybe 41, 42, there or thereabouts.
Yeah, about 40 million, yes, and that's when you look at the revenue budget, that's almost a quarter of the 185 million. So it's a big component for us, raised locally. I would say that we have about 6,000 rate-paying properties. I would mention that, just to put it in perspective, about 80% of those pay 5,000 or less. There's 4 customers actually pay over 1 million each. So at the upper end, there's a lot of very big ones, maybe state utilities and the multinationals, and then we've many smaller ones. And of course, we know truly it's hard to stay in business. But keeping the perspective in terms of we count on those then to provide the services.
Now, we know that there was a revaluation process took place now, which is the council is involved in it, but it's ordered from on high. That comes from Dublin. It's a decision of government. It isn't a decision of Donegal County Council, and it's probably fair to say it is still being implemented, and it's going to take probably another year just to get the full impact of that revaluation clear, both to yourselves and to businesses. But how is that process going?
Yeah, and I suppose the principle of revaluation for a county, and Donegal is one of the later ones, is there's no net change overall. So within the overall rate amount, some go down and others have to go up to balance it off. That's the theory behind it, and that's been done. So we'd find, and that's true the way the outturn is here, that some have gone down, and then the flip side is some actually go up. We're working through that, and I suppose people have the right to appeal it, and then there's a separate process. Council not involved in that, apart from, you're right, we understand what's going on, but we're not the decision makers.
Now, the council hasn't increased the commercial rate now, I think, since about 2018, 17, 18. Now, you did mention this year that there may well be a rate increase next year for the 2025 budget, and maybe conversations on that will start in the coming months in the council chamber. That's going to be a hard discussion.
Yeah, I think it's a discussion we're willing to have with our elected members in terms of where we're heading over the next whether it's 5 years or whatever, and the ambition we have for the council in terms of raising its own money to with the co-funding of major projects, or where it takes us. The spending power of the, as we all know, the euro now has slipped back, and when we have fixed it, it means effectively we can do less with the same money that we had from 5 years ago. So we need to have an honest conversation on that. And what does that actually mean? Who does it affect in terms of the rate-paying property owners, and what it all means in terms of the 5-year plan, for example?
A suggestion from one councillor that a value for money exercise by the council could create savings across various council departments, and that might be enough to negate an increase in rates. Is it your belief that that might be the case, or do you think the value for money assessments are tight enough as they are?
Well, and I think we've several people always scrutinise around the value for money and audit headings in the council. We're probably one of the most audited public bodies in the state. We're never afraid of value for money exercises. Always welcome them. I would say if you look at just simply our staffing from 2008 2010, we had about 1,500. Now we're between 1,100 and 1,200. So we're substantially less staff, and we're in a far more range of business now.
The caller says, and this is a comment that we hear often, and I'll put it to you, the council has been slow to keep infrastructure up with the expansion of the town over 30 years. The Bonaghy link was necessary 20 years ago. Now, and I suppose it does raise the question, to what extent is it the council that controls how that goes, and to what extent is it external bodies, be it the department, be it the government, be it whoever?
Yeah, no, in the Bonaghy link, and there's several, the caller clearly refers Letterkenny. We have several roads planned for Letterkenny, totaling probably maybe 200 to 300 millions worth, all of which we counted coming from the state. The Bonaghy link's part of the 10T. We had identified that over 20 years ago and picked a rough route for it, but there's never any money for it, and that's the problem. It needs the funding, needs the approvals to go for the consents and the planning and the CPO. That was never forthcoming for the Bonaghy link or the other 10Ts. I'd say the same is true for the Northern Relief Road and what we refer to as the Southern or the Lek Road, which is another 100 million project, with plans there for 20 years. But council on its own money will never pay for those. It needs state intervention.
Yeah.
I'd say also people talk about some of those being developer-led. But you look around Letterkenny now, the developer-led project would never fund that scale of work, and means it becomes stagnant. So we need fresh thinking there, and we need an injection of money in Letterkenny, particularly I would say with the work we're doing with the North West City region, and for Letterkenny to become the objective to become a small city, and what we need to support that. And that requires intervention.
The other thing that crops up in a lot of discussions is the fact that, for instance, we talk about the 4-lane, which has been much discussed over the past number of years. But the 4-lane is the N15. It is a national road. Likewise, Letterkenny Manor Cunningham is a national road. So it's not that Donegal County Council actually has control over those roads. In many cases, they are state roads. Run by Transport Infrastructure Ireland, and they're the ones that make the calls on the N15, not necessarily Donegal County Council.
Yeah, no, you're right. Those are national roads. Fully funded, 100% funded by the state through Transport Infrastructure Ireland. What the council can do is, I suppose, representation, lobbying, and helping to prioritise. And we would have done that for several years, as you know, the Lifford to Letterkenny and on through the 4-lane on the books for many years.
The issue of defective blocks obviously is a huge issue in Donegal and has been now for some time. A caller is asking, is there any way to find out what the current status on a person's application under the scheme is? They're saying the staff on the hotline in the council are fantastic. However, they're not able to give timelines or real-time updates. It's having a detrimental effect on people and adding to the already high levels of anxiety and stress being experienced. I appreciate staff are busy, but this does nothing to alleviate the stress and suffering. I have all my documentation up to date, finance, builders, everything lined up, but I can't move until I get my letter of conversation of grant amount. My life is on hold and in limbo until I can get this moved on. Any help would be appreciated. And I'm sure this is one caller, but I'm sure there are many people out there in exactly that position, and they're looking toward Donegal County Council and they're asking, where is this and at what point am I? Is there anything that can be done to give them clarification or to give them some light?
Yeah, Donal would say first, and we have huge understanding and empathy what people are going through for many years now on the defective blocks. We did since the enhanced scheme, we have almost doubled our staff in the office administering it, and we're now administering a lot smaller part of the overall scheme. So what all I could do there is if I get the details, the staff would get back to anyone. Now I know there's many calls coming in, many ways to contact us. I can't give an answer here, but certainly would commit to getting back to people as soon as we can. And
certainly they need to know where they're at in this game.
But in terms of decisions as to whether or not a letter can be released, is it Donegal County Council makes that decision? Is it the department makes that decision? Are the council just administering this on behalf of the department and the department are making decisions, or does Donegal County Council have some autonomy in terms of how this is administered?
Yeah, well, yeah, and there's a variety of answers required there, Donal. It is a department scheme, we're administering it. However, we have the autonomy to issue certain letters, and it's important to know whether somebody's coming in under the old scheme and getting that converted, or they're applying fresh onto the hand scheme. If it's the old scheme, we're closing those out, so our team will issue the letters and everything. Under the new scheme, we do part one, which is eligibility and so on. Then it goes off to the housing agency, but they write back, so we're the ones issuing the correspondence every time to the homeowner, even the housing agent involved.
So it very well could be the case that you're actually waiting on the housing agency to give you the go-ahead to make the next move, even though what people will see is I contacted the council and the council gave me a letter, but in between is a process where you have to liaise with a third party.
You could be, although from what you read out there, quite possibly that person might be on the older scheme, where it would be then under the council's control.
One final question, John, before we leave it. Caller says, I'm in a council house 24 years. Any work that has to be done to the house, I've had to do it myself. The council isn't doing enough on the upkeep of houses. Surely this will only cause greater problems down the road. In terms of the upkeep, now I know there is money in the budget for the upkeep of your own housing stock. Does that caller have a point?
Yeah, and probably need more detail to know the specifics, but council covers a certain range of topics under housing maintenance, and then certain things fall to the tenant. We spend a lot of money on housing, although we do hear that we would need to be spending more all the time, but there's a limited budget available in terms of making it all work, and we work on a prioritised basis. But in that case, and I would compliment tenants who do a lot of work themselves, and they've great pride in their own homes, and they do things perhaps over and above, but the council does have a maintenance budget there, and it's done on a prioritised basis.
John McLaughlin, the Chief Executive of Donegal County Council, thank you very much indeed. John,
thank you, Donal.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Think outside the box with your photos this Christmas for canvas prints, Instablocks, mugs and photo books at mcgees.ie. McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Exporters. Further Brexit-related changes are coming on the 31st of January 2024. The UK government will introduce new checks and controls on goods entering Great Britain. Every Irish business exporting goods, especially food or other agricultural products to Great Britain, should be aware of the new requirements. Traders should examine their British supply chains and get ready for the new rules. For more information, visit gov.ie/Brexit. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Employers, Clever Cards is the only Irish company where you can order digital MasterCards online. Instantly email digital Clever Cards to your employees or contractors. Anywhere, anytime means late delivery never arises. Clever Cards are saved in your mobile phone, so you always know your balance. Small and large businesses use Clever Cards because they are accepted everywhere, online and in-store using Apple Pay or Google Pay contactlessly. First €1,000 tax-free. Order online now from clevercards.com. Clever Cards MasterCards are issued pursuant to Clever Cards interbank agreement with MasterCard. E-money's access with Clever Cards MasterCards are safeguarded and regulated by the Central Bank under EU payment service regulations. Clever Card is certified by Apple Pay and Google Pay. Terms and conditions apply.
At Centra, we've got amazing Christmas offers this week, like Cadbury Milk Tray 530 gram now €10. Inspired by Centra Chocolate Yule Log 600 gram now €8. And Santa Rita selected range €8 each. Perfect for stocking up for Christmas. Shop smart, feel festive at Centra. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Everyone loves going to the cinema. That's why an Eclipse Cinemas gift voucher is the perfect Christmas present. They aren't just for kids, but all the family. Even little Miss Hard to buy for. We all have one of them. And when you buy an Eclipse Cinemas gift voucher, you now get 10% extra free. Available on our Bundoran and Lifford Strabane cinemas or at eclipsecinemas.com. Vouchers don't expire and can even be used for dine-in screen options and VIP cinema experiences.
This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. An important note to read out: carers are urgently needed to cover shifts from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. daily, and also at weekends. Experience with dementia or Alzheimer's is essential. For more information, please call us here at Highland on 074 91 20 5000. So carers urgently needed to cover shifts from 10 to 5 and then from 5 to 9 in the evenings. Experience and with dementia and Alzheimer's is essential, as we say, and it's 074 91 20 5000 if you would like to know more and have a conversation. And just to let you know, on this week's Hours to Protect, which comes up in just around about an hour's time, Donna Marie will speak to the Clean Coasts Officer for Donegal, Elena Kunkel, and also William Kyo, the Secretary of the Friends of Rossnala Clean Coasts Group. They won an award recently for their campaign Lift It, Bin It. It's all things beaches and pooches. So if sand and dogs are your thing, don't miss Hours to Protect today. In fact, don't miss Hours to Protect any day, because it's always really well worth listening to, and it's on at 12:30 during the Around the Northwest programme. Now we are going to welcome another guest into studio. Emer Haughey is with us. Emer, good morning.
How are you?
Very well indeed.
Thanks for having me.
You're the daughter of Barney Gibbons, who many people will know, and Barney had an illness which sadly earlier on this year resulted in an amputation.
Yes, that's right. January past he had an amputation, and unfortunately he's looking at having a second one in the coming months.
And this is because of serious diabetes?
Yeah.
How is his health at the moment?
It's not great, to be honest. He's in and out of hospital a lot. He's home at the minute, but he's just after doing almost a 2-week stint back in.
Yeah.
So we're hoping we can keep him home for Christmas.
And at the moment, your mum's his primary carer, and she's not a young woman either.
No, they're both in their 70s, and mum's actually going for an operation herself now on the 20th of December. She's going in for a knee replacement.
Yeah, so it's hard enough at home, and no doubt, I mean, you know, and any support you can get would be greatly appreciated. Yeah. And with that in mind, some good friends of the family, the Browns, are organising a tractor, and Robert Brown and Anne-Marie Brogan are organising a tractor run that's going to take place next weekend.
They are. Robert and Dad has been great friends for years. They both drove lorries together. Dad was a lorry driver for 40 years, so Robert seen the difficulties that everybody was having trying to care for Dad now that he's off his feet completely, and they organise the Northwest Truck Fest every year in aid of different charities, so this is why they've come together and organised this tractor run for him.
So it takes place on Sunday next, which is the 17th.
Yeah.
Tell us about the route and the arrangements.
So it's registration is at McGettigan Travel in Dromore, out beside the NCT Centre, at 12 o'clock, and it's €20 tractor. It's heading towards the mountaintop into Kilmacren and back into Ramelton to the Lennon Lodge. We had to change the route slightly. So in the Lennon Lodge then we will have music with Paul McCahill, Johnny Haughey, Mark McLean, and a few guest singers, Evelyn Gallagher, Anne Biddy, and Jennifer Mathewson coming in for a few songs as well.
And the run itself starts at 2, but registration, as you say, Mega can travel in Dromore from 12 noon, and the run starts at 2. So presumably you'll go from Dromore to the Polestar and then up past the Mount Errigal and then up the Business Park Road, mountaintop, then Kilmacrennan, yeah?
That's it, yeah. Yeah, just to avoid the main town traffic. I suppose with Sunday before Christmas it'll be very busy.
It's going to be fairly mad in town,
yeah.
I suspect, all right. So it's important too, as you say. I mean, your dad drove a lorry for many years. A lot of people will know him. Most people, I suspect, in the transport business will know him. I mean, you know, the name of Barney Gibbons is well known across the area. And it's times like this you always find that people just come out of the woodwork and say, and you'll get a lot of, oh, I remember driving with your dad 20 years ago. I remember your dad this. I remember your dad that. And you're going to find people knowing your dad that you never knew your dad.
That's it. They're a great community. He's met a lot of men along the way down through the years to different companies that he worked for, and we'd like to encourage as many to come along to the tractor run and to the Lennon Lodge as well for an evening of crack.
How many tractors are you hoping to get?
Well, as many as possible. I'd heard of a tractor run there just been ran last weekend. I think they had upwards nearly 100 tractors going. So the more the merrier.
Absolutely.
Everybody's welcome.
And in terms of, as you say, he's at home at the moment, as is your mum, but your dad needs physio, and it's hard, it's expensive, and you'd be hoping to, I mean, in terms of keeping him at home as long as possible.
As long as possible. We're hoping if we can get a new mode of transportation for him, because he's completely off his his good leg now. He used to be able to transfer himself from the bed to the chair and into the car and things like that, but we can't do that now, so he's confined to the wheelchair the whole time, unless the use of a hoist. So even getting him to the tractor run on Sunday's proven to be difficult, never mind all the appointments that he has to attend.
And I'm sure he's looking forward to that too, because that's going to give him and something he's going to need. I mean, he's going to need that mental boost, I suspect, as well, and hopefully that'll give him a good shot in the arm as well in terms of his own well-being, because you're going to have to keep an eye, obviously, on how he's doing inside as well as outside.
Well, that's it. He has coped extremely well considering what he's been through. For Dad being such a social, outgoing person, if he wasn't on the road, he was out socialising with friends, and now to be stuck at home all the time, it's been quite difficult for him.
So the tractor run takes place on the 17th of November, which is this coming Sunday. It's a tractor run for Barney, €20 per tractor, and then there'll be a session afterwards in the Lennon Lodge. It could be a hell of a good day for a lot of people.
Yeah, fingers crossed. There's some great prizes. Some companies sponsored really good prizes. We have an overnight stay in the Shandon Hotel with afternoon tea, and McGettigan Travel kindly sponsored a €250 LK voucher. We have vouchers for Tokyo Boutique, Avanti Hair, and Cowan's Tractors. They sponsored a really big toolkit as well. So there's some things being auctioned. We've actually got livestock for auction as well, believe it or not.
I presume they won't be there on the day, though.
Hopefully not.
that would be interesting. A whole live manger.
I don't think it would look too good in the Lennon Lodge. Live sheep running around.
Yeah, probably not. I think there's going to be enough mayhem now without jumping animals into it as well. Emer, we hope you have a really, really good day, and listen, all the best with it, and we wish Barney well, we wish your mum well as well with the operation coming up there too, and hopefully 2024 can see the equipment. I mean, and I'm sure that there's equipment you could do within the house as well, as you say, maybe the use of a hoist, maybe the use of various things, and the more you can do in terms of providing that equipment at home, the more you can do to make a home stay as safe and as practical as possible.
That's
and
it.
Hopefully that will happen. Emer, we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emer. That's Emer Haughey there, and that tractor run for Barney is taking place, as we said, leaving Bonnygee at 2 o'clock on next Sunday afternoon. Registration will start at 12 noon, and it'll go from Dromore. It'll go down the 4-lane as far as the Polestar. It'll go out past the Mount Errigal, out as far as the Business Park Road, up past the old Unify site, and then up to the Unify roundabout, and then it'll, not the Unify, the Optum roundabout, sorry, then up past here at the mountaintop, and then out to Kilmacrennan. Emer, thank you.
Thanks very much, John.
Right, this is the 19 Noon Show on Highland Radio. Just a comment, we were speaking to John McLaughlin there, and John made the point that, Letterkenny's ultimate aim is to become a small city. Caller says we need to be able to get out of Letterkenny before we can become a real city. That is a bit of a joke, so says that caller. Now, as John McLaughlin said, sadly, the reality of it is that they're very much dependent on the government and Transport Infrastructure Ireland for prioritisation and for money, and that is the situation that they are in. It's the 9 till noon show. It's Highland Radio. It's at 23 minutes to 12 noon. Going to take a short break. Don't forget, by the way, and we will have our quiz in just a few moments' time. We'll have that very shortly. Aidan Murphy is coming up after this programme around the Northwest, standing in for John. And as well as that, just to remind you that the draw continues, the Highland Radio Grand Day draw. Grand Day up to the 22nd, and then a car on the 22nd, so you can still buy tickets for that. They're available on our website, highlandradio.com, and you can also ring the station at 074 91 25,000, and you can buy your tickets via the station as well. And there will be a call made at some point this afternoon. Can't say what show it's going to be on, but it will be made at some stage this afternoon. And there will be a person winning €1,000. And obviously the tickets also enter you into that draw on the 22nd for the Skoda Kamiq as well. Just want to say good morning to the people who have been listening to us on our social media. Marie and Elaine, Charlie, Mary, Kevin, and to Anthony, and to all those who are listening to us this morning. It's great to have you. If you have any comments to make, 086 60 25,000. You can call us on 074 91 25,000, the 086 60 25,000 number. Good for both texts and WhatsApps. Take a short break. Back after these.
Chanel, Flowerbomb, Lancôme, Giorgio Armani, Paco Rabanne. Where else but at McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny, this Christmas. Sponsors of today's 9 till noon show.
At Nissan, buy any 2-for-1 Nissan e-Power X-Trail or Qashqai and receive a brand new Nissan e-Power in 2025. Choose the Nissan Leaf with 0% finance. Alternatively, you can choose a €2,000 trade-in booster or 3.9% finance options. Visit imotors.ie or call into our showroom in Drumkeen or Malin today.
Give the gift of Redcastle Hotel and Spa to your loved ones this Christmas. Choose from a range of memorable experiences to suit all. Visit our website to view and purchase our gift voucher offers and experiences, including our winter getaway offer from only €125 per couple. For more information, see redcastlehoteldonegal.com.
Celebrate the 12 days of M&S exclusively with Sparks and be in with a chance to win €5,000 when you open a door every day. M&S are giving away thousands of free gifts and daily festive offers from the 1st to the 12th of December. Don't miss out. Sign up today with the M&S app. Terms and conditions apply.
Make your next menswear choice at Watson Menswear Letterkenny. From suits to casual wear, there's big names to choose from like Andre, Tom Penn, Rimazumo, Superdry, Penguin and Tommy Bow. If you're going to a special occasion or big event, get fitted in style at Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny, online at watsonmenswear.com or follow on social media for details of offers and new arrivals. The Christmas Club is also now open and a small deposit will secure any item.
Give joy at Boots with hundreds of amazing gifts available on 3 for 2. We've a huge range of brands like No. 7 Ted Baker and Soap and Glory. And with home delivery and click and collect, it's never been easier to tick everyone off your Christmas list. Boots, give joy. Selected stores and boots.ie, subject to availability. Cheapest free offer ends 24th December. Delivery charges may apply.
And now the Highland Forecast, brought to you by Shop LK. Widespread Christmas shopping this December in Letterkenny. See shoplk.ie or like us on Facebook.
And looking at the weather forecast from Met Éireann, and they tell us to expect mostly cloudy weather, some showery rain, particularly in coastal areas, but a good deal of dry weather right across the region as well. Top temperatures this afternoon, 7 or 8 degrees Celsius with light variable breezes. They'll become north to northwesterly later, and they will freshen along the coast. So that's the way it's looking at. Not too bad, not too bad. Hopefully it'll stay dry in your area wherever you are. Now, let's go and do our McGee's Chemist quiz. And we have, as I say, 2 callers to do today because it didn't happen yesterday for various reasons. A very, 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 very busy show yesterday. So we're going to do 2 today, as I say. And our first caller is joining us on the line. And I'm delighted to say good morning to Roisin Blacken in Harmony Hill in Letterkenny. Roisin, good morning to you.
Morning, how are you?
Very well indeed. Roisin, I'm going to play you a snippet of a Christmas song, and I am going to ask you to identify the song. Now, it's a song that's very well known at Christmas time, so have a listen, and can you identify this Christmas song? We're just going to play, as I say, a very short snippet. Any thoughts?
Is it Do They Know It's Christmas?
By Band-Aid? It most certainly is. Congratulations. That is Do They Know It's Christmas by Band-Aid. So congratulations. Now, Roisin, you have won yourself a Carolina Herrera Good Girl Eau de Parfum spray, courtesy of McGee's Chemist. And perhaps more importantly, you're entered into the draw for the hamper at the end, which contains a hamper of Clarence goodies, also a blank canvas 12-piece gold makeup brush set, a large blank canvas purple 3-piece gift set, a Be Perfect muted palette, a Jimmy Choo ladies fragrance, and also a 20x16 wrapped canvas, so you can wrap your favourite photo in canvas and have it hanging pride of place on your wall. Congratulations, Roisin, that's you.
Thank
through
you very much.
with Do They Know It's Christmas, and have a listen out on Friday. You could be the big winner there as well. Thank you indeed for playing.
Oh, great. Thanks, Marion. Thank you.
That's Roisin, right? Let's see if we can make this 2 by 2, because we are now joined on the line by Mary Duffy, who joins us from Urris in Clonmany. Mary, good morning.
Hello, how are you doing?
Very well indeed. Mary, hopefully we can help make your Christmas. The prize on offer, this time it's a 50 millilitre Paco Rabanne Invictus Eau de Toilette spray for men, and that'll be a nice handy present for somebody, I'm sure. And as we said already with Roisin, if you get this, you will also be in the draw for the hamper at the end of the week on Friday. Now, we did give a sneak preview of this earlier on in the show, so take a listen to this. It's a very well-known Christmas song. It's played backwards, and see if you can identify this piece of music, please. Right.
Derek Ryan, do you know it's Christmas?
Say it again.
Derek Ryan.
It is Derek Ryan indeed. Well done. That is Derek Ryan, and congratulations to you. Mary, you have won, as I said, you have won that Paco Rabanne Invictus Eau de Toilette spray, and also you are in the draw for the hamper prize on Friday. So congratulations, and thank you very much indeed for taking part.
Thank you very much.
Okie doke, it's our absolute pleasure. That's Mary Duffy there in Urris Clonmany, and earlier we had Roisin Blacken in Harmony Hill in Letterkenny, both of those winners, and it's good to have the prize won at the first go. It's always good to hear. And there'll be another one, as we say, another one tomorrow, and there'll be one on the programme on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday as well. So don't forget, we will have a daily prize, and we will also have the hamper. And just to repeat what's in that hamper again, because it is a very, very nice hamper indeed. It's got that Clarence Christmas goodies. It's got the blank canvas 12-piece gold makeup brush set, purple 3-piece gift set, a Be Perfect muted palette, Jimmy Choo ladies fragrance, and that wrapped canvas photo frame as well. Wonderful, wonderful stuff indeed. Now, we are going to go back to the telephone, because we are going to speak to Faith, who is a friend of Valerie, a practicing nurse in Letterkenny, and there has been sadness. And Faith, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Faith, you are a very good friend, as we say, you're a very good friend of Valerie's. And we want you to tell the story.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. What happened? Because we know that Mavis Clinic Manyonga came from Zimbabwe to celebrate Christmas in Letterkenny, but sadly there has been tragedy.
Yes. So Valerie invited her mom, Mavis Clinic Manyonga, to come to Ireland to spend Christmas and holiday with her. So she picked Valerie, she picked her mom from the airport, Dublin airport, on Saturday the 2nd of December, and took her to Letterkenny to her house here. So in the early morning of Sunday the 3rd of December, the mom just called for help, and she was down in the stairs, and Valerie just rushed down to her. She found mom sitting on the floor. She was still responding, and called the paramedics. The paramedics arrived, and then after some minutes, she had a cardiac arrest in the house. She was resuscitated in the house and taken to the hospital. In the hospital, she received treatment in the intensive care unit and sadly passed away on the 6th of December. So this was the first time that Valerie had invited her mom to come in, so she was looking forward to spending the Christmas with her. But unfortunately, things didn't go as planned.
And now the challenge is that Valerie wants to bring her mum back to Zimbabwe for a proper burial, and that is where it's going to cost a lot of money.
Yes. So that's where the challenge is, the cost of repatriating mom's body back to Zimbabwe.
That cost is substantial. We're talking in excess of €10,000.
Yes.
No.
We are talking about costs that we got from our funeral director that is going to amount to €10,500.
The challenge now is to raise that money. Valerie does not have that money to hand. She's a practicing nurse in Letterkenny. Presumably that amount of money is not available to her. So you're hoping to raise some money, I take it, to get that money together so that Valerie can bring her mum home.
Yes. That is the appeal. Valerie doesn't have that kind of money at the moment. She had planned the Christmas and the holiday to be with her mom here. So what she had planned was Christmas. She had booked some holidays and she had decorated her house for Christmas. She had packed the fridge with food, but she didn't plan that anything would go wrong at this time.
Now, a GoFundMe appeal has been launched online that people can use to help.
Yes. A GoFundMe, it has already raised €2,800 as we speak. People from all over the world, they are helping, and mainly people from Letterkenny.
Yeah.
And special thanks from people from Letterkenny and around Donegal.
Now, and Valerie has siblings in Zimbabwe as well, and her dad is there, her siblings are there, and obviously they want to bring their mum home to her home for burial, and it's very important to the family that this is done.
Yes, it is really important. Valerie is the only family in Ireland. She has 3 siblings back home, and the father is back in Zimbabwe. So it will be really important for the burial to happen in Zimbabwe so that the people there back home can have closure also.
Obviously, it's important that this money is raised quickly. Is there a timetable in as much as, is there a time that the remains of Valerie's mum have got to be taken from the hospital and put on a plane, or how are things in terms of just the arrangements?
So we were hoping, since we are coming into the holidays, there are so many paperwork to be done back in Zimbabwe, in the embassy and in the foreign affairs. So we were hoping if we get the funds quickly and we pay the funeral directors, they might be able to speed up the process so that at least by this Friday we have everything in order.
Would the hope be to actually bring her mum's body back to Zimbabwe before Christmas?
Yes, that's what we are really. So that if we raise the funds quickly, she might be going back home before Christmas.
Yeah. And obviously Valerie will want to go back with her mum to Zimbabwe and be with her family for some time over Christmas so that they can grieve her mum's loss. And it's going to be very important for the family that can be done.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Faith, I really, really hope that people can help with this, because, I mean, to be on your own in a foreign country and have this terrible thing happen to you, and just if anyone is coming in, we're speaking about Faith is a friend of Valerie, who is a practicing nurse in Letterkenny, and Valerie's mum travelled over from Zimbabwe to celebrate Christmas with her daughter and her daughter's family in Letterkenny. Sadly, within 24 hours of arriving, Mavis, Valerie's mum, had a heart attack, cardiac arrest, went to the hospital and sadly passed away in intensive care at Letterkenny University Hospital. And this GoFundMe appeal is to help raise in excess of €10,000 so Valerie can bring her mum back home to Zimbabwe, back home to her father and her siblings who are in Zimbabwe themselves, and that they can give her mum a burial and hopefully do so before Christmas. It's important, Faith, to you, it's important to Valerie, and it's important obviously to the family that this does happen.
It is really important. It will really, really make a difference, and it will really make this Christmas a difference.
Yeah. Faith, thanks indeed for speaking to us today. And look, we hope that this can bring some succour and some solace to Valerie, and if that money is raised, at least it'll give Valerie the comfort of knowing that she can be with her family. And I've no doubt Valerie wants to be with her family at this time as well, because I mean, you know, I can think of nothing worse than mourning the loss of a parent on your own with no family around you, knowing that they're on a different continent, knowing that they're so far away. So it'll be very important to Valerie as well to be with her family. So for her comfort and for her happiness and for the happiness of everybody else, it's very important, I think, that this is achieved. Faith, listen, we wish you and Valerie all the best at this time, and hopefully this target can be achieved. But for now, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the call. Thank you for your help. And I would like to thank in advance the help that is going to come through from the people from Letterkenny, from Donegal, and from all over the world. We really appreciate this. And thank you so much.
Yeah. Listen, Faith, we wish you all the best. And if you want to contribute, there is a link to the GoFundMe page, which we can put up on our own social media. I won't read it out because it's one of these things where it's just got loads and loads of numbers. It just doesn't work audibly. But it is, as I said, it is on our, Carolyn's just confirmed to me, it is on our website, it is on our social media. It's gofund.me, and you can get the link there, and you can assist in this really, really important thing. We're coming to the end of the show, actually, and we have done all the, that's done, yeah, we have pretty much done. A lot of people expressing an interest, actually, in the Dear Gay book. I'll just put it up on camera here. If you just look, this is the book, Dear Gay, compiled by Susie Byrne. We spoke to Susie earlier in the programme. A lot of people expressing an interest in the book. Yeah, a lot of people expressing an interest in it. Some really interesting letters in here, and you know, it's called a handwritten history of Ireland, and it's really, really it is exactly that. Now, a lot of people have been suggesting to us, by the way, just listening to what Faith had to say, a lot of people have been suggesting the Kevin Bell Trust. Now, the Kevin Bell Trust in this instance do not have a role to play, because the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust, which is a hugely important trust, the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust does not repatriate people out of Ireland. It brings people home to Ireland, but it does not have a role repatriating people out of this country to other areas. So a lot of people suggesting the Kevin Bell Trust might be able to help, and we have confirmed it, that they only repatriate into and not out of the country, and they do fantastic work in their own right. But that's, in this instance, sadly, the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust is not an option. Hope you've enjoyed the 9 till noon show today. Just to remind you that Aidan Murphy is coming up around the Northwest. That'll be following this programme. Aidan's here until 2:30. At 2:30, it's David James. And then after the news at 5 o'clock, from 5:30 until 7, it's Ivan Borland. And just to remind you that at some point this afternoon, it may be with Aidan, it may be with David. We don't, well, I certainly don't know. It'll be on a different show each day, but a call will be made at some point over the coming hours to one ticket buyer from the draw, and €1,000 will be given away today if you're that caller. And if you get the call and you answer the phone, €1,000 will be yours once you answer the question. So that could happen. So keep an ear out for your phone, and obviously keep listening to Highland as well and see how that pans out. That's it from me. Greg's back on the 9 till noon show tomorrow morning. As I said, it will be Aidan around the northwest later on. I want to say a very special thank you to all of those who took part in the programme today. Thanks to you for your comments. Thanks to all our guests. Thanks to Caroline who produced, and also to Sharon for her help on the programme as well. And thanks to all the contributors. This is the 9 till noon show. It's Donal Kavanagh saying goodbye, and have a very good day.
Hugo Boss, Victor and Rolf, Dior, Marc Jacobs and Carolina Herrera. Where else but at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny, where you'll find the biggest names in perfume and aftershaves this Christmas. Sponsors of today's